Go there,
Brutal
do the
demolition.
Santiago and do the Naifu.
They will collect 3 more. They make it 8-2. Hey! Oh, they will score them. All Africa games postponed. This is City Sports Online. That's the story there. And then City Business News is talking about the government announcing final bonds or principal for new bonds as well. And then, of course, Telcel Group acquires controlling stake in Vodafone Ghana, signaling new era of innovation and growth. We hope so. Let's get into the details, guys.
Okay, let me start from some politics,
Yes,
if you
no,
don't
yes,
mind.
yes.
So I'll take you to Parliament, and then we'll also do some NPP NDC this morning. So on the NPP, on the Parliament side of things, past 6 ministerial nominees, majority appeals to minority. That's on page 18 of the Daily Graphic. The Majority Chief Whip, Frank Anodom-Pre, has appealed to the Minority Caucus to temper mercy with justice to okay all 6 ministers nominated by the President.
Is it to tamper justice with mercy or to tamper mercy with justice?
Please, that is, I'm reading what Daniel Kinu has written.
No, you tamper justice with mercy.
Yes, but Daniel Kinu has written his own thing there.
But I think it's a mistake.
He told the parliamentary press corps yesterday that the threat by the minority side to issue a blanket statement following a directive by the party executive to reject the approval of all 6 ministerial nominees was unfair, and moreover, when they were all members of the House. So that's the appeal that is has been made by Mr. Frank Anodom-Pre. Let me just finish quickly on the parliament side and political side. Prohibits children from early social media use. That's coming from the Deputy Majority Leader, Honorable Afenyo Markin. He's asking for a law that will prohibit children until they are 16.
And responsible parenting.
Yes, from that one. And then the NDC is opening nominations today. There's a big story that former President John Dramani Mahama has confirmed. It's on the front page of a couple of papers that he will contest the election as well. So that's it from my side.
So quite a number of political stories.
Yeah, in fact, if you go to page 5 of the finder, the details of the story he just mentioned, Mahama officially declares intention to contest for presidency. And that story, 2 paragraphs for you, Bernard. Former President John Dramani Mahama has officially or formally declares his intention to run for president in 2024 general election on the ticket of the opposition National Democratic Congress. Now, Mr. Mahama made the formal announcement when he met with the minority caucus in his cantonment office on Tuesday. That is yesterday. And let me also say that information we're picking up from Parliament is that the appointments committee has agreed in principle that the nominees who were vetted should be passed. That comes with a caveat that the minority guys are not going to be part of.
So they go and vote in the plenary?
Yeah, so it's a majority decision in principle.
Meaning that they have to vote?
Yeah, they will vote on
Now,
it.
talking about that, Amin Adam has been speaking. He's the nominee for Minister of State for Finance. Misuse of funds for deprived regions is murder. This is a story by Letitia Osei. Minister of State designated at Finance Ministry, Dr. Amin Adam, says misusing funds allocated to deprived regions in the country to support development is tantamount to murder. Appearing before the Appointments Committee, Dr. Amin said anyone who would attempt to touch monies allocated to deprived regions would be doing the indigenous a great disservice. He said such funds allocated to the deprived regions help to reduce malnutrition of children, provide education for children, and generally improve the conditions of their lives. And to the extent that any resources, whether under Nkrumah, Mahama, or Akufo-Addo, that is not spent well to improve their living conditions, Mr. Chairman, I think it's problematic. Still on the vetting, I'll cut my salary if you do same, Dr. Stephen Amwa tells minority leaders. This is on Joy Online. Deputy Minister Designate of Trade, Dr. Stephen Amwa, says he will accept a reduction in salary if the minority leader, Dr. Kasilatu Forsin, is willing to do same. And this was based on some interaction during the vetting process.
Okay, let's stay with matters coming from the Appointments Committee, because page 2 has a story that Bernard would agree with. GRA is best to collect property rates, according to the Honorable Obi Awa. And the story says Ministry of State designate for the Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, Mr. Osei-Bonsu Amoa, has justified the decision that the Ghana Revenue Authority should collect property tax in the country. Now, the idea of having GRA collect property taxes has attracted criticisms for potentially strangling assemblies which are empowered by law to collect property rates in the country. But he appeared before the Appointments Committee. He was asked a question on the matter, and his view is that the GRA should collect the money.
I am with him 100% on that.
Well, staying with one court issue that is linked with Parliament on page 2 of the New Publisher newspaper, serve Ablakwa properly, Court Director Reverend Kusi Boateng. And Accra High Court has directed lawyers for Mr. Kwabene Dujemfi, also known as Reverend Kusi Boateng. But when did that happen? He's always been known as Reverend Kusi Boateng.
So apparently, the only, for most of the things, there were 2 names. But on his Ghana card, it's called Kwabena Edujemfi. That's the only one that he's won.
No, I'm just saying, when did we start referring to him?
Because he's known in public life
as Kusi Boateng.
Yes,
he's always been Kusi Boateng.
But his identity, as confirmed by his national ID, is the other one.
So now we should call him Kwabena Jemfi.
That's his name. That's what you see. The paper is telling you his real name.
So will he change his billboards?
That one we don't know. Maybe it's his nickname.
Okay.
We don't know. So stay with the paper.
Let me stay
the
with
paper is right. Yes.
Kwabena Jemfi.
That's the name.
Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng.
That's the
to serve Mr. Samuel.
That's the nickname.
The member of parliament for not talk properly with the contempt procedures filed in court. The legislator, through his lawyer, told the court, presided by Mr. Justice Charles Jemfi Dankwa, that he was not served with the process, which the court confirmed. The court indicated that from the records before it, the respondent Ablakwa had not been served with any contempt procedures, and that the court had also not made any order for such process. The court said what Mr. Sadio Sori, counsel for the respondent, procured from social media could not be taken as service of the contempt processes.
Still in court, High Court withdraws warrant for arrest of Mamprugu Overlord. The story by Neil Atela, citynewsroom.com. The arrest warrant for Na Bohagu Mahami Abdullah Sheriga, Nairi of Mamprugu traditional area, and his keymakers has been revoked by the Bogatanga High Court. This comes a few days after the same court issued the arrest warrant requested by a certain Lieutenant Colonel Ajibadek Benjamin Baba, who had asked the court for the paramount chief's arrest following his enskinment. As a result, the court modified the prior ex parte motion, which is now hereby rescinded under the inherent jurisdiction of the High Court. The full thing is there. These things, you understand those things. They've written, even the heading, you know, in the Superior Court of Judicature, in the High Court of Justice, Bogatanga, held on 21st February, before His Lordship Alexander Graham, Justice of the High Court. EUBHG something, long thing.
Okay.
You have to go to school for 5 years to be able to read this thing. Upon hearing the affidavit of Lieutenant Colonel Ajibadek Benjamin for variations of an order for arrest warrant, and upon hearing Mrs. Joyce Deborah, Principal State Attorney, it is hereby ordered that warrant of arrest issued for the arrest of Na Bohagu Mahami Abdullah Sheriga, Paramount Chief of Mamprugu Traditional Area and his keymakers, is hereby rescinded under the inherent jurisdiction of the High Court, given under my hand and the seal of the High Court of Justice.
Thank you.
This day, 21st February. Yeah, so you sign and we put that thing bang.
And yesterday, the Mamprugu Traditional Council did a press conference, but they are demanding an apology.
Yes, that's the result on citynewsroom.com. And they said, Egbenya to swear now. They said, this is your first. No, that's what they said. Actually, I'm not even lying to you.
The man said this is your first time.
Yes, it has to say, Egbenya to swear. This should be your last time. Government rebuked over attempted arrest of Mamprugu Overlord. So you're right. Story says the Mamprugu Traditional Council has strongly criticized the government for what it considers a Rambo-style attempt to arrest the Mamprugu Overlord, Na Bohagu Mahami Abdullah Sherigu. We'll deal with this later.
Okay, let me take you to page 20 of the Ghanaian Times, because there's a story there. We are going back to the other world to seek financial support.
China.
In this case, China is going to be the possible destination. And the finance minister is quoted here saying that they are going to China over Ghana's debt following a successful domestic debt exchange program. Now, Mr. Foriata said negotiations with China were important because they hold the majority of the external bonds. Now, speaking to City News in Accra yesterday, the finance minister said he would lead a delegation to China to plead for debt cancellation. And there's a big quote here that says, the big elephant in the room is China. We will be visiting China by the end of the week to really discuss how they come into the envelope as quickly as possible. So we are looking at that support from them. China represents about a third of the $5.7 billion loan. And so it is important that we engage them. Charlie, the Chinese, are they debt forgiving like that?
Well, they have processes. I'll explain to you if Bernard gives me some.
Our spare parts are wasting at the ports because we can't pay duties. Railway workers are complaining. Citynewsroom.com. Ghana railway workers say, despite difficulties to ensure maintenance of rolling stock for smooth operations, its imported spare parts for both locomotives and wagons are wasting away at the ports because they don't have money to pay the duties and charges. National Executive Council of Ghana Railway Workers Union told City News that the ministry should immediately grant them an exemption to enable the clearance of the imported spare parts for their operations.
Let me tell you about Beige Bank and this collapse. On page 5 of the BNFT, you know, there's a trial ongoing. And a chartered accountant with KPMG, Julius Ivor, who is currently on secondment to the office of the receiver of the defunct Beige Bank Limited, has testified that reviews conducted into affairs of the defunct bank identified a number of transactions which were suspicious and unusual in nature. Mr. Avle, who is acting as a principal witness in the trial of the CEO of the former bank, Mike Nyinaku, said the suspicious and unusual transactions involved the siphoning of funds that had been deposited by customers of the defunct bank by the former CEO to himself and companies related to him. This, he said, caused the government of Ghana to settle the affected customers with taxpayers' money following the bank's collapse.
Obviously, there will be cross-examination. Other witnesses will be called.
Yep.
It's a running story. We'll keep an eye on it. Tension mounts in Denchira Ayamfuri as 22-year-old man is stoned to death. Charlie, Ghanaians can be brutal. Oh. Tension is mounting at Denchira Ayamfuri and Fobinso. This is Upper West Denchira district in the central region over the death of a 22-year-old man. You remember Denchira Boas is not far from here, where Major Mahama was killed. The deceased, Evans Reku, was reportedly stoned to death at Denchira Fobinso over his alleged involvement in a robbery incident at a Galamsey site in the community. Family members of the deceased are demanding the arrest and prosecution of the perpetrators. Our Central Regional correspondent Calvis Tete reported that the deceased is a former student of Addis Ababa College, Cape Coast, and is known by his peers as Evans Reku, while others call him Nkwantebisa. The details of the story are given.
That's an unfortunate development. The police would
stoning
have
a person to
they
death.
have to look into it. I mean, this whole idea of mob justice is completely unacceptable, and we have to kill it. Let me take you to page 12 of the Ghanaian Times. There's a story there that's troubling. Research into illegal mining activities has revealed that 5,677 children are engaged in Galamsey. And Claude Nyako Adams reporting
5,677 children.
Yes. And these are the recorded ones. Now, activities of churches and other religious centers in mining communities have been cited for being one of the promoters of early marriage and child labor in the communities. Now, a research report by the Solidaridad, an international
Activities
NGO,
of churches?
yeah, has revealed. It says activities of churches and other religious centers.
Is
in
making
mining
children marry early?
Exactly. That's what the report is claiming. According to the report, since the teenagers could afford flashy marriages and naming ceremonies, church leaders in mineral communities allow and officiate weddings of persons under the age of 18.
Are you serious?
And naming ceremonies of children of underage parents. Now, the report further stated that such social events make illegal mining activities attractive to the teens and the children in the mining communities, and it had led to a social competition among this. This is really scandalous because, I mean, at the
so kids are looking at other kids getting married, and they think,
and it is unlawful. You can, a child and two children cannot marry.
it is terrible. Did they mention the specific communities?
Okay, so the report, if you go further into the report, I'm looking for. A certain Dr. Rita Owusu Amankwa is quoted as the consultant, and basically it reflects what's happening around the country. So there's not a specific mention of.
It would have been nice to know, for example, the areas that were, because mining communities are a lot: Western North, BA, Ashanti, Eastern. So it would have been nice to know which mining communities they refer to. But I'm pretty sure the Western enclave will be strong there.
Let me stay with the church, because on page 38, Reverend Professor Samuel Jedu, he's the president of the Trinity Theological Seminary, he's delivered a powerful lecture on African politics and the mystical realm. And he says that we cannot continue to rely on mystical powers and forces and not take steps to translate our prophecies into action as people of faith. Ghanaians need to adopt a strategic approach to address the religious balances that had contributed to the country's current state of underdevelopment. Now, Reverend Professor Jacob Nasamwajedu, he has asked leaders of the country to translate their high level of spirituality into practical action to speed up development.
Two quick stories. Telcel Group acquires controlling stake in Vodafone Ghana. This is a new era of innovation and growth. Story by Michael Ogbodu says, Telecom giant Vodafone Group PLC has concluded the sale of 70% controlling stake in Vodafone Ghana to Telcel Group following regulatory approval and agreement of the Ghanaian government as a minority shareholder. The move marks the most significant development for Ghana's telecom firm since 2008 when Vodafone took over control of the Ghana Telecom and formed Vodafone Ghana. Now, Telcel Ghana is a leading Africa-focused communications company specializing in integrating telecoms with fintech, e-commerce, and tech startups with a history dating back to 1986.
Okay. And the All Africa Games have also been rescheduled for 2024 on page 47 of the
Same, is it same venue?
The date has to be approved. A new date has to be approved by rescheduled for Ghana in 2024. And the president also donated 50,000 Ghana cedis to Salas Tete.
Meanwhile, Biden hails rock-solid NATO as Putin blames West for Russia's war. So whilst we are here, two world leaders are also doing their own things. This BBC says Vladimir Putin has sharpened his vitriol towards the West as President Joe Biden, fresh from a visit to Kiev, praised Western democracy for standing up to naked Russian aggression. In a week heavy with events ahead of Friday's anniversary of Russia's Ukraine invasion, Mr. Putin spoke first. He says the West has enabled Nazi Germany, he claimed, and had turned Ukraine into a neo-Nazi regime that was anti-Russia. Hours later, Mr. Biden said autocrats understood only one word: no, no, no.
Our world is in serious disorder.
I'm telling you.
And it is as if there's no one person that will speak. Challenge somewhere.
China begging for debt cancellation.
Do you fear some go and collect your debt cancellation quiet? No rush.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show. The city's biggest conversation.
You know your papa see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, papa! Papa! Bobo, so how your engine now? It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Quartz and you. Can't feel better energy. Can't touch this. Actually, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that? Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz. And he switched. Sancho Panza. Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz? No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer. Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies there improves fuel efficiency. Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation movement World Cup like that? Hey, sorry. Chema. Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CityCBS.
Unleashing the power of relevant radio. This is Citi 97.3.
City Business News coming up next, brought to you by MTN. The year has just begun, and the best thing you want to do is to start with a brand new SIM from your favorite network. From the month of January, all SIM card prices will be 10 cedis. Join the MTN family and begin the new year with great coverage and super fast internet connections everywhere you go. Nana to four things here with City Business News. Good morning, Nana.
Good morning, Bernard, and good morning to you out there. Welcome to the breakfast edition of City Business News, proudly brought to you by MTN, GOIL, and powered by your most comprehensive business news website, citybusinessnews.com. Coming up, economists predicts further reduction in inflation following the absence of government financing by the Bank of Ghana. Also, government urged to adopt IMF framework in its external debt exchange program to ensure success. Let's bring you the details now. Economist Professor Eric Osei-Asibe has stated that the absence of government financing from the central bank in 2023 will have a positive impact on reducing inflation levels in the country. In December 2022, Ghana experienced its highest inflation rate in more than 20 years, reaching 54.1%. But since then, there has been a slight decrease, with the January 2023 figure at 53.6%. This is the first time inflation has slowed since May 2021, although it still remains well above the central bank's target range of 6 to 10% for the past 17 months. Speaking at the 2023 Ghana Economic Outlook Forum in Accra, Professor Eric Osei-Asibe explained that the move will reduce government expenditure and significantly curb inflation in Ghana.
If you look at the data that was presented, when IMF was in place in 2018, 2019, when central bank was actually not financing government, the fall in inflation was really fast into the bound, right? Because liquidity injection was very low. The monetary aggregate was around 23% or thereabout. Today it's around 45%. So this year, all things being equal, if there's going to be that zero central bank financing, then we are seeing that that liquidity injection is not going to happen. So that will significantly reduce people's purchases. And then also, in combination to that, is the high MPR that government, the central bank is pursuing, the strict monetary policy. What that means is that interest rates will remain high, credits or banks will not be able to give out enough loans.
Economist Professor Eric Osei Asibe. Now, another economist, Professor Peter Korte, is optimistic government's external debt exchange program will not suffer the same setbacks the domestic debt exchange program did. According to him, once government goes by the framework of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank to guide its efforts and doesn't stick to the same approach that it used in the domestic debt exchange program, the process will go on smoothly. Professor Peter Korte disclosed this on the sidelines of the National Dialogue Series organized by the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
I think with the external, what I can see is that there is a consultant. We've seen that there is a consultant from France who has been engaging them already while we are going through this domestic debt exchange program. So with them, I believe the consultation has started already. And also, the IMF has and the World Bank have a framework which would guide the whole discussion. So, in my view, that program would be much better. The only challenge is that there are many creditors, there are private creditors, there are institutional creditors.
That was Professor Peter Korte, an economist. Meanwhile, an economist and currency analyst at GCB Capital Limited, Courage Bouti, wants the government to expedite steps aimed at engaging China for possible debt forgiveness. This comes after the disclosure by the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta that talks are underway with China over Ghana's debt following its successful domestic debt exchange program. Now, speaking with Citi Business News, Courage Bouti explains that government must work assiduously to bring the nation's debt to a sustainable level.
It's an important step, and if they haven't started yet, then even that is quite late. Because if you realize the debt restructuring conversation of countries like Zambia, particularly, is held back by non-progress with China, really. The fact remains that China, as a lender, is very hesitant on cooperating with other bilateral creditors to execute this whole debt restructuring agenda for most countries now. And so we ought to have been guided. And I guess that is the main reason government from the onset haven't been inclined to this common framework arrangement for external debt restructuring, really. But it looks like to make it orderly and to get optimal participation, you have to go through the common framework. And so it looks like we've run out of options. And so you have to engage all these parties. And so I thought it would have been prudent we had engaged them much earlier and then know what their demands are and the processes, especially when we are running against time to get a board level approval.
You heard economist and currency analyst at GCB Capital Limited, Courage Bouti. Now, the acting Canadian High Commissioner to Ghana, Kathleen Flynn Dapar, has assured of finding collective ways to offer continuous support for women in the agricultural value chain. This, she believes, will strengthen the agricultural front of the country and offer decent livelihood for women in the regions in the northern zone of Ghana. She made these comments at the media roundtable discussion on the theme, Investing in Agriculture for Employment in Ghana.
But I think it's important that we talk today about how to work differently, how to innovate, how to engage diverse partnerships, and how to reach the furthest behind. Through our partnerships with MEDA, the Grow 2 project, which was approved in 2021 and is valued at 25 million Canadian dollars, is working to further strengthen the economic and social empowerment of 40,000 women smallholder farmers, entrepreneurs, and agribusinesses in northern Savannah and Upper West regions of Ghana. It's our expectation that the GROW project will achieve the intended outcomes in terms of enhancing employment for value chain actors, especially for women, and strengthening gender equality in Ghana by taking these innovative approaches.
Kathleen Flynn apprised the acting Canadian High Commissioner to Ghana. Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of GESAL, an agricultural lending system, Kwesi Kobo, called on key stakeholders within the sector to forge a cross-sectorial policy implementation drive.
Of food agriculture. It's called sectorial. You can't just say it's just agriculture. There's health, there's trade, there's finance. Unless there's a coordination among all the various ministries that have a role to play, policies will never work. No, it depends on the issue at hand. If, for example, we are talking about import substitution, for example, there's the Ministry of Trade. There are WTO rules you've got to abide with. There are phytosanitary issues you've got to abide with GSA. You have to distill the issue, look at what are the relevant agencies you need that can play a role in addressing, because policy is supposed to address an issue. So what?
That was the Chief Executive of GESAL, Kwesi Kobo. Now, the Cybersecurity Authority has outlined new regulations for the industry, stating that foreign cybersecurity service providers must partner with local companies in order to operate in Ghana. These regulations, which are in accordance with the Cybersecurity Act of 2020, Act 1038, also include the licensing of cybersecurity service providers, accreditation of cybersecurity establishments, and certification of cybersecurity professionals to improve the country's cybersecurity landscape. Dr. Albert Ntwibwe-Siako, the Director General of the authority, expressed the hope that these measures would boost Ghana's cybersecurity industry.
I think it's fair that as we regulate, we have visibility of the services, the people, not just the technical competency, but the integrity that is so required to be a cybersecurity professional. But it's impressive to see that international partners, international providers are partnering with domestic providers because that is what the law requires.
Dr. Albert Ntwibwe-Siako is the Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority. Let's now join Gillian Hammer for more on the topic, how to find a better balance between earning and spending.
There are two main things to consider when trying to find a better balance between how much you earn and how much you spend. You'll need to find a way to either earn more money or spend less money. Making small changes can add up to big savings. For example, if you cut one lunch for 20 cedis each week, it could add up to more than 1,000 cedis a year in savings. So to trim your spending, it's a good idea to look at your overall lifestyle before you start finding ways to reduce your spending. There are a few questions you can ask yourself, including how much money do you really spend on entertainment, which includes things like lunch, drink-ups, takeaway food from restaurants, coffee. If you can cut back, it could be a big win for your savings. Also, are there ways you can reduce your expenses at home? Everything from utility bills to transportation costs could be ways to find efficiencies. The third area is how many fees are you really paying each month? Consider your monthly subscriptions and streaming services. Remember, budgeting is about trade-offs. If it's important for you to keep weekly takeout meals or daily coffees, look for other ways to trim your spending, but try to have fun with the process.
That was Gillian Hammer of Data Bank, and then the breakfast edition of City Business News, proudly brought to you by MTN, GOIL, and powered by your most comprehensive business news website, citybusinessnews.com. My name is Nanatufu Boateng. Many thanks for listening. Do have a good business day.
extra kilometers out of your drive. Switch to self-fuel safe today because extra kilometers go a long way. Go well. And if you are looking to buy a bus as a private school, why wait later when we can support you? Do it now. Apply for our competitive school bus loans with convenient payment terms. Yes, very, very convenient. Call Michael 057-411-7851. Let's do it together. I'm talking about Lesheho. Let's improve life.
Unleashing the power of relevant radio. This is Citi 97.3.
Benjamin Nketiah here with the rest of the sports news. Good morning.
Good morning, Bernard. Let's get into the headlines. And 2023 African Games postponed to 2024. Family of the late Christian Atsu set date for 1 week celebration. And in the UEFA Champions League, Real Madrid thrashed Liverpool at Anfield in the first leg of the round of 16. Get into the details. And chairman of the local organizing committee of the 2023 African Games, Dr. Kweku Fosu-Asare, says the 13th edition of the Games, which was slated for this year, has now been postponed to 2024. However, a definite date was not given for when the Games would take place. Now, Ghana's efforts towards hosting the 13th African Games have been affected by an impasse involving the African Union, the Association of National Olympic Committees of Africa, and the Association of African Sports Confederations over some marketing rights. Now, it is also well known that the main arena for the Games, situated at Borteman, is way behind schedule, with the University of Ghana Stadium also facing a similar situation. Now, speaking at a media engagement at the Accra Sports Stadium, Dr. Fosu-Asare assured the public that the new date will soon be communicated.
The name will be the same. We saw Tokyo 2020 was done in 2021. So we will still maintain the name. So rest assured, it will be Accra 2023. And there has not been any definite date, but as I said, very soon you will know. If it's 2024, you will know, and that will not be too long. But definitely, the name will be the same.
So you heard chairman of the local organizing committee of the African Games speaking there, Dr. Kweku Fosu-Asare. Let's move on to some other stuff. And Deputy Sports Minister Evans Opoku-Bobie yesterday led a team from the Sports Ministry and the Ghana Football Association to visit the home of deceased Ghanaian footballer Christian Atsu to pay their respects to his family and sign a book of condolence. The 31-year-old's body was returned to Ghana after he was confirmed dead after being trapped under earthquake rubble in Turkey for 12 days. The former Ghana international played for Turkey's side at Tiraspol and scored his only goal for the club in their game against Kasimpasa on Sunday night before the earthquake struck on Monday, February 6. Now, the government and the GFA have promised to play their role in ensuring Atsu receives a befitting burial. Meanwhile, former Black Stars players Asamoah Gyan, Sule Muntari, Bafo Gyan, Haminu Dramani, and Emmanuel Ajamambedu also paid a visit to the house to commiserate with the family. Now, the one-week celebration has been set for March 4th for the Ghanaian footballer Christian Atsu. So that's what's going on with Christian Atsu. Let's move on to some other stuff. And President Akufo-Addo received Ghanaian football legend Mohamed Polo at the Jubilee House yesterday to discuss issues around a 5-year development plan for Ghana football and also his newly released book titled Polo the Magnificent, the story of the dribbling magician. The president praised Mohamed Polo for his service to the nation and admonished him to continue to impact the country positively through football.
We recognize your talent, and continue to acknowledge all that you have done for Ghanaian football and Ghanaian sports. It's been a lifetime's contribution. We're all very grateful to you for that. I think the two books, the two papers that you have presented to me today are absolutely on point, just as your visit today is on point. There's always the right time to meet, and this is the right time. Despite all that has gone before, this is the right time. I'm grateful for the copy of the biography. Is it an autobiography or an autobiography or a biography? Biography, yeah. And then also, I've seen that this is the 5-year development plan, also with some requests in it. Yeah, we'll look at the requests and we'll do the best that we can to assist. Yeah, but.
Now, meanwhile, Mohamed Polo expressed his gratitude to the president and advocated for Ghana to return to the brand of football that made the country prominent in the 1960s and the 1970s.
I was there when I got a call that His Excellency wants to meet me. I said, no way, this is the right time. Everything has got its time. This is the right time. It's so special to me that after all this, time, though I've developed an academy since 2003, and I remember very well, I've gone through the process and other things to develop this youth. I remember developing some youth that was able to even match the 2009 satellite under 20 who won the World Cup. My boys played them in a match of equal before they went and so I realized, I think I've got something special to offer. And what I've seen now that our time, we had a brand, and that is Ghana brand of football. It is called Agro at that time. Unfortunately, it looks as if, things are, shifting.
So you heard Ghanaian football legend Mohamed Polo speaking there. Let's now move on to Europe because the UEFA Champions League continues tonight. And let's do a quick recap of the action from yesterday. And it was Liverpool Football Club at Anfield when they took a 2-0 lead against Real Madrid Football Club. Real Madrid did a comeback for the ages when they beat Liverpool by 5-2. Now, Nunez and Salah gave Liverpool a 2-0 lead in the first half, but Vinicius Jr. scored twice to level the game for the visitors before the break. In the second half, Real Madrid ran riot and goals from Eder Militao and a brace from Karim Benzema completed the comeback for Real Madrid. Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp shared his thoughts after the game.
Yeah, best with the beginning, it was outstanding. It was us in a nutshell. It was perfect, exactly how we wanted to play, causing problems all over the place. We were really in the game, super intense start, 2-0 up. I think the whole first half was good, besides the goals. Obviously the first goal, we became slightly passive, a bit higher up the pitch already. We were not chasing them where we had to chase them, because this is a team, when you let them, when you get passive, this is you get punished. We realized in that moment, and the second goal is slapstick, should not happen, can happen. And it's 2-2, but the feeling in half-time was rather, they probably think we cannot do it again, but we can, and we can change 5 times, and then we can keep the rhythm and these kind of things. But then the first situation, pretty much, they played a long ball to Vinicius. He's in that 1-1 situation. I'm not sure it's a foul, but in the end, he whistles it. And then how we defend that is obviously not okay. That's then the 3-2. And that doesn't help against a team who is obviously outstandingly good in counter-attacks. It doesn't help. And so we played there in their cards and could not really get back on track anymore.
So you had Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp speaking there. In the other game played, Frankfurt today lost at home by 2-0 to Napoli Football Club. And then in today's matches, there's Inter Milan taking on FC Porto. RB Leipzig will be up against Manchester City. So that's what's going on in the UEFA Champions League. Let's move on to some other stuff. And former Manchester City midfielder Yaya Toure is hoping the club will beat Arsenal to the Premier League title. The defending champions currently trail the Gunners by 2 points following a 1-1 draw with Nottingham Forest over the weekend. Now, Toure, who won the trophy 3 times with City, believes the Premier League title race is firmly in the balance after the weekend's results.
Well, I think both clubs are doing well, to be honest. I think in this moment, Arsenal is doing fantastically well, Man City as well. I think the pressure is going both ways, because like you can see as well the result from yesterday, where Man City drop a point and Arsenal get a point, and a tough game where they've been twice at the back of the back foot, And I think the fans gonna be enjoying, because I don't know who's gonna win it, but I hope Man City will make it. But let's see, because at the moment these two clubs are in fantastic form and they're running as well.
So you had former Manchester City midfielder Yaya Toure speaking there. And let's finish off with some news from the camp of Leeds United. They have appointed former Watford boss Javi Gracia as their new head coach on a flexible contract. Now, Jesse March was sacked by the club on February 6th, and under-21s coach Michael Skubala took charge of the team, or has been in charge of the team for the past 3 matches. But a 1-0 defeat over the weekend to relegation rivals Everton has left the club 2 points from safety. Gracia, who kept Watford in the Premier League during the 2018-2019 season and also led them to the FA Cup final, has been out of work since leaving Al Sadd in Qatar last June. Now, Leeds host bottom-place Southampton in a crucial fixture in the upcoming weekend fixtures. So that's what's going on in the Premier League with Leeds United. That's all for this morning's edition of Kickoff. My name is Benjamin Nketia, the small sport at citysportsonline.com.
Trust the process. The biggest things often start small. No matter where you are now, the most important decision you will make today is knowing where you'll be tomorrow. All you have to do is take the next step, believe in your journey, and go with passion. Because when you go with passion, you go big. You explore the possibilities. You create the tomorrow of your dreams. So come along and let's go big with our passion. Apply for a loan now and power your ambitions. Get plugged in. Let's go big. Powered by Lesieho.
Extra, extra, let me tell you all about it.
Hey, Dolomistic. You and this your extra thing. I beg, tell me about it.
Abenquine, look, extra is what you and your car get when you switch to Shell Fuel Save. Extra protection, extra clean, and extra savings. You get it?
Tell me extra.
Shell Fuel Save is designed to improve engine efficiency instantly, and with triple action formula that helps protect your engine from wear, corrosion, and deposits, so you get extra kilometers out of your drive.
Sir, and you're not extra, good for your engine. Extra, good for your pocket.
Extra kilometers goes a long way. Switch to Shell Fuel Save today. Go well.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CityCBS.
Get 2 months of Showmax for the price of one. It's giving. It's giving celebration and casa and more smiles for less.
The bar has gone up.
It's giving non-stop Big Brother Titans drama. She. And binge-watching vibes. It's giving what it's supposed to be giving and overdose. You will feel sad. So subscribe now to get 2 months for the price of one from just 16 Ghana cedis 99 pesos for a limited time. It's giving Showmax. Sign up at showmax.com.
Hey, Ben, Mr. Study Abroad, welcome back.
Thanks, Monet. I missed Accra, but I'll never forget the canals of the Netherlands and beautiful St. Louis in the US. I really feel like a global citizen.
That's the Webster Advantage. Quality American degree, small class sizes, top-notch campus facilities, and the chance to spend up to a school year in the US, Europe, or Asia.
Apply now to become a Webster University student for undergraduate studies or to pursue a master's program. Call 054-012-0849 or 69 and visit webster.edu.gh today.
For Pepsodent, smiles are one of the most important things we have. The problem is, globally, 1 in 2 children suffer from cavities. Pepsodent, with maximum cavity protection. Helps to prevent the formation of cavities. Pepsodent, because every smile matters. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
There will never be a better time to buy a new Samsung phone. Love is in the air and great gifts await you when you buy selected Samsung phones this February. Automatically get up to 2,000 cedis worth of fuel coupons, spa, shopping vouchers, as well as phone cases and more when you buy selected phones at our authorized stores. If you've been waiting months to buy a new phone, this is the time to stop telling yourself next month. Live a little and leave with a gift.
This offer is valid throughout this February. But if you have a sweet tooth, shop in our partner stores from the 11th to 14th February and get free extra chocolate. Valentine is here. Buy a Samsung and get a gift. Terms and conditions apply.
It's creamy, creamy plus, delicious milk. Creamy plus for you.
Creamy Plus is a delightfully delicious option whenever and wherever the occasion calls for milk. For your quick meals on the go or quality time at the dining table, jazz up your favorite Gary soakings, mashed kenke, cereals, and all hot and cold beverages with a creamy, protein-rich, healthy option of milk. Creamy Plus evaporated milk with vegetable fat is all you need to stay on the go. Creamy Plus evaporated milk is now available in a shop near you.
For bulk purchases, please contact Les Farm Distributors at Medina Ritz Junction on 0501 682 522, or Grace has found us at Akoko Photo Dansoman on 0245 162 747.
Creamy Plus for you.
Creamy Plus evaporated milk.
This message has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Coming up next is Health Tidbits brought to you by Nyaho Medical Center.
Welcome to Yahoo Health in the City. Today we'll be highlighting some preventive measures that can be taken against cervical cancer. Some of these measures include getting the HPV vaccine, practicing safe sex, having regular cervical cancer screening, and limiting alcohol consumption. Heavy alcohol consumption has been linked to an increased risk of several types of cancer. All women aged 20 years and above are eligible for cervical cancer screening. So why don't you walk into the Yahoo Women's Care Clinic for your screening today, or call 050-148-1472 for more information, or follow our social media handles for more health in the city tips. Yahoo, improving your quality of life.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS. The Citi Breakfast Show. Rise above the noise.
friends and family. Happy birthday to Adjoa Georgina, Adjoa Frempoma Chum of MTN EBD. Coming in from Nana Kwabena, Nana K, and from your husband Kojo Akoto to Georgina Adjoa Frempoma Chum. You share birthday with Kendall Gifty Esi Adanuvo of ECG. This is from your husband and your children. Is that how is it pronounced? Adanuvo. Kendall Gifty Esi Adanuvo of ECG. And happy birthday to Philip Kofi Ashon.
Hey, what a man.
A.K.A. For you.
Hey, for you. Filippo the Hippo.
For you is too much.
For you. Job for the Guinness there.
Oh, for you, Charlie, for you, your brother man.
Hey, just your brother man.
For you.
Proper brother man.
No, for you are a big man.
Yeah.
We celebrate you too.
Yeah.
Bring some more Guinness.
Yes.
Make we take talk for the corner.
And you add some, in-laws, Bangu and related matters. Are you
an in-law?
Well, I mean, is a family. Yes.
He came to marry from the extended.
Yes.
Extended voter.
Yes. So you should make sure he reports and come back to base.
I hear you.
And Bernard, let me just do a posthumous one for the Honorable Jafar Tivo. You know, today would have been her birthday.
Oh, she spent the birthday with Philip?
Yeah, that's right. If she was alive.
Oh, I didn't know this.
We remember her for all the great things that she did while she was alive.
Tivo.
Former minister responsible for transport.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Football fever never stops with Showmax Pro. Watch the best live games from the Premier League, Europa League, La Liga, Serie A, and more live from SuperSport on Showmax Pro. You can stream movies, series, and kids shows on any device. Sign up to watch the world's best football and the greatest local and international entertainment, all from only $59.99. Showmax.com is where to subscribe. Now, did you know that Independence Day 6th March falls on a Monday? Oh, yes. Come spend the holiday with us at the Royal Citi and enjoy bed, breakfast, and dinner at a special Citi weekend promo for only 2,500 cedis per night. Charlie Sky. And call Linda, sort something out.
Thank you.
0242 886 510. Independence facing the Citi.
Charlie.
It's powerful.
Imagine, and you are grilling some tilapia.
Oh, my brother.
Charlie.
My lord and my God.
And what Watadia?
With a check.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
My sweetest one. So for you, you are the light that shines me through the darkest places forever. I will love you so, and ever. I want you to know that you are a star, my shining star. You are my star, my shining star. Come on, give me all your love. I just can't get enough. I will never last a day when you take your love away. Forever I'm yours, and ever I want your love.
a belated birthday to Mrs. Betsy Aqua Hayford. Yesterday we were 40 years old. It's yet another beautiful day to celebrate a special woman. I wish you all the best this new year with long life, prosperity. Happy birthday, my darling wife, from your husband, David Hayford. And the kids, Jojo, Ajo, and David Hayford was my mate in Presec. He went to St. Benedict Suburus in Dance. To my boy J. Jom Lampte Drew of Valley View University Basic School. Tell him I love him and may he blow his BCS exams come September. This comes with compliment from his siblings Awenam, Bobune, Valikem, Aseye, and Nui Oyo. I'm not sure if I'm getting this right. Nui Oyo.
No, mind girl.
Nui Oyo. Beautiful name. Awenam, Bobune. I like the name Bobune.
She loves
I like the name Valikem. And from your father, Egbezuale. The whole person is a proverb.
Charlie, that is
the
correct one.
The man is a proverb.
A shining star, that's what you are. My sweetest
You know what I like about Kojanchi? When I hear his songs, it reminds me of the 1980s in Medina.
That's right.
Yeah, because the songs, Charlie. Takes
Some
me back.
reggae,
Yeah.
strings, Charlie.
Banana, na 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 na.
Pam pam. Pam pam.
Pam 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 pam.
Pam pam. Pam pam.
Yeah. You know,
Kujo.
my favorite instrument in songs is the horns.
Oh, I see.
So if you have a song with horns,
You're the person is killing you.
I
bruh.
tell you, I think I should learn how to play the trumpet. I don't even have the stomach to play it. Charlie. You know, trumpeters have big stomachs. Generally.
I remember those days. You know, Charlie, the boys were doing the thing. So when you see them, Charlie, you will just be happy. So I went to the general RC church. Charlie, I want to go and learn
the trumpet.
The trumpet, Charlie. Some boy be just. The guy say he go whip me because he can play some key where I play the wrong thing. Where I say you get it.
So you say he will beat you for not playing the right key.
You know, those days you don't have these brass band boys, and then so there was one day in the.
You wanted to learn.
Yeah, I wanted to learn the thing. So I went to the place to learn the thing. This guy said because he said I should play. You know, when you start first, they say will you play do re mi fa so la. So like
you couldn't play.
Charlie, I play something.
They disqualify you.
So the guy said he was going to cane me.
Yes.
Cane me, yo.
Was this last year?
The last guy.
You were a small boy at that time. That's how your dream ended.
Charlie said
that's how your dream ended.
I got by now, Charlie. You know.
Oh, I love this one. Pam, 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 na, na, pam. And good morning, Bana. Please wish a happy birthday to my son, Mawena Kofi Abba. He is 10 years old today from his father, Mawena. So from father to son. And it was right after his studies in recycle management that Paul Kofi accepted the challenge of building houses with plastic waste. So not only does he help in recycling waste to save the environment, Paul provides jobs for many Ghanaians. At ABSA, this is what we call Africanacity, the distinct ability of Ghanaians to always get things done. Africanacity is our inspiration. It defines who we are and what we do. It's our commitment to helping people find a way to get things done. To find out more, visit absa.com.
Okay, let's take some more wishes coming in. This one is coming in from Mommy, Daddy, and Jason, as well as Jocelyn, and it's going out to Bernard, who is, the host here. I said, please wish our daughter, Bernadette, Jacqueline Frimpong. Wow. A blessed 6th birthday. They are wishing you happy birthday, coming in from Mommy and Daddy. This one says, good morning, Bernard. Please wish my lovely wife, Mrs. Leona Kakraba Adoboy, and my sweet sister, Anini Adoboy, in the state, a happy belated birthday. May their heart desires come to pass. Yeah, some way. That is
in the States or in the States?
Yeah, that's a bit confusing. Yeah, it should come back. And this one from Kofi Yeboah from Burma Camp, and says, good morning, Bernard and team. Please help me wish a good friend and sister, Sharon I of Services Integrity,
Savings and Loans at Burma Camp, a glorious happy birthday. May God position her like Esther, and may she find favor for all that she desires most in life. I love her so very much.
A couple more. Bernard, please, with my wife Rosamond Segbefia of Deloitte. A very happy birthday. More Lolo, more Anichi on the Joey. This is coming from the husband Elon. That's nice. And then happy birthday to Emmanuel Ben Sam Sr. from your darling wife Mrs. Araba Sam and your adorable kids. We pray for God's grace to abound in your endeavors. We deeply appreciate and love you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All that I want for judging me, yo, yo, yo.
For finance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Abuna Osei Asari.
Yeah. So let me take you to the stories on page 12 of the Ghanaian Times by Claude Nyako Adams. And he says that activities of churches and other religious centers in mining communities have been cited for being one of the promoters of early marriage and child labor in the communities.
Unbelievable.
A research report by Solidaridad, an international NGO, has revealed. Now, according to the report, since the teenagers could afford flashy marriages and naming ceremonies, church leaders in mineral communities allow and officiate weddings of persons under the age of 18 and naming ceremonies of children of underage parents. Now, the report further stated that such social events make illegal mining activities attractive to the teens and the children in the mining communities, and it had led to a social competition among the children. Now, the research, which was conducted within a 4-month period between October 2022 and January this year, had respondents mainly from Etiwa East District in the Eastern region, as well as input from other stakeholders in mining communities across the country. Now, discussing the report during the validation of Child Labor Eradication Framework for the small-scale mining sector in Accra yesterday, Dr. Rita Owusu-Amankwa, consultant for the research, said currently it was estimated that about 5,677 children engaged in mining activities. And there's a direct quote here that says, findings as they are show that illegal small-scale mining activities are done by people of all age groups, adults, youth, and children, even though it is dominated by males, especially the youth. Both migrants and indigenous people are engaged in the mining activities. Only few females, relatively to their male counterparts, are engaged in mining, because of the belief that menstruation is a bad omen to find gold, unquote. Now, children in mining, as she explained, were mainly engaged in illegal activities because the law does not permit mining companies to employ children. Now, Dr. Owusu-Amankwa said the situation exposes the children to the hazardous nature of the work of mining, its impact on their health and education, and negative image of Ghana's gold on the international market. Now, she noted that although several laws and policy measures have been put in place with the aim of realizing constitutional and moral obligations of the protection of children from abuse and exploitation, the practice still persists in mining communities. Now, she referred to the implementation of the National Plan of Action, NPA 1 and 2, Strategy on Anti-Child Labor and Trafficking in Fisheries, and Caring Gold Mining Project for the mining sector as some of the interventions which have been implemented to address the menace. Now, the framework being developed, she said, was aimed at implementing holistic, well-integrated, consistent, multi-stakeholder and high-yielding interventions that will lead to the reduction of child labor by 50% in the mining sector by 2027. Now, Dr. Osu Amankwa noted that the framework would focus on promoting community-driven efforts to implement interventions that would improve the well-being of children and develop systems for identifying and analyzing cases of child labor and forced labor for effective remediation and follow-up actions. Now, it goes on to say that she said it will further strengthen the capabilities of both institutions and actors at all levels to implement interventions to address child labor in an efficient manner and increase accessibility of poor families to the current social programs and productive inclusion initiatives that provide sustainable livelihood possibilities.
Wow.
Now, there's a further paragraph that says, Fafanyo Kukubo Amagavi, who is the Gender and International Affairs Officer for the Minerals Commission, said the commission was aware of illegal practices including child labor in the small-scale mining sector, adding that it was working with all stakeholders to address the menace. Now, she said the framework would help in streamlining all activities aimed at curtailing child labor and all other illegal practices. And then also a further quote here that is attributed to Rosemary Adiko, who is the programs manager for Solidaridad. And she's quoted as having said the framework was a needed step towards the eradication of child labor in small-scale mining sectors. And then she said the organization was committed to working with all stakeholders to tackle the menace within the
There are a couple of aspects of what you read that trouble me. The first being the number of people, 5,670 something.
Those were the recorded ones.
We don't know whether this is for the whole country or this is for the enumeration area or this is for just the district. I think there needs to be some more clarity on this. And then what baffles me, the role of churches and religious groups in promoting Galamsey indirectly, because they're saying they are blessing marriages among youngsters. And these youngsters are getting married because they get money from Galamsey. And other young people are watching them getting married and they think, if this is what Galamsey can help you do, then I'm going to get involved. I don't know. Look, churches are the guys who used to tell us no premarital sex, stay home, abstain. They argued for many years about abstinence. So how are churches blessing marriages of minors? And are they talking about people below 18? That's even illegal. All right. How are they? Whose certificate is given? How do they ascertain the age of the people? Where is the district registrar of marriages? How does it sit down for underage people to be married by churches or whatever body for that matter? You know, I think there's a lot of the whole chain, the MC, the DC for Etiwa East, MP. They need to come and talk to us about this. You know, and how long has this been going on? You know, if 5,000 for particularly the marriage one. You know, 5,600, so that means they're not going to school? And is this only Etiwa East? I mean, Godfrey, this is crazy. This is really crazy. You know, and this is hidden in page 12.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so quickly, the law is that you cannot marry a child, and a child cannot marry another child. So whether you are two children trying to marry, the law doesn't recognize that kind of thing. It is nullity from the very word go. And then an adult cannot also marry a child. It is unlawful. So if this is indeed going on, as you said, it raises a number of issues because you cannot give certificate for a child who is married to an adult or a child who is married to another child.
And this does not have to be marriage by ordinance.
Yeah, that's right.
Just to be clear, our laws, we have 3 types of marriage: Mohammedan, customary, and then ordinance.
Yeah.
Are we saying that per the law, all 3 types of marriage in Ghana, you have to marry the person older than 18?
Yeah, that's right.
The girl has to be older than 16.
Yeah.
And the boy must be older than 18.
In fact, to marry, you have to be above 21.
Oh, not even above 18.
Yeah, that's right. It's not 18. If the law, as I understand.
So customary marriage and Mohammedan marriage do not. So it's not just ordinance.
Yeah, that's right. Because the Children's Act intervenes, and then the Marriages Act also intervene on this particular matter.
So you have to be above 21.
Yeah, that's right. You can. So the law is that you can have sex, consensual sex, at 16 and over, right? So then, if you do anything below that, that is rape. Defilement.
Yeah.
So if you are above that, where it is forced, then rape comes in. But if you want to marry, you have to satisfy the requirement. I can dig up the specific provisions for you, quickly. But the position is that if you are not of the right age, you cannot marry. You cannot marry, and where you do, it is null and void from the very go. So there are 2 things that would occur. The courts would not recognize that marriage, and the people responsible would have to be prosecuted for facilitating an illegality, which basically the laws, frowns upon.
That's amazing. And then also, which churches are blessing these marriages? And what certificates are they issuing? And are they formal marriages or just customary?
Okay, so you see, you can go to church and do whatever you want to do. If the church is not recognized under the law, normally they publish the areas or the places that you can conduct valid marriages. If you go and conduct a church service and the person who is officiating the ceremony is not himself recognized by law to conduct the ceremony, that marriage you have done is also invalid.
I really wish I had a full report.
Yeah, which we don't have.
Sometimes the way we report things on the media side can overemphasize anything. Because I find it a bit of a stretch to blame the prevalence of galamsey among children just to the issue of marriage.
Oh, of course.
Because I think that the point about money and lack of parental control is the main issue. Probably exacerbated by the public show of newfound wealth by minors. But then to turn the thing and say, and this is my personal view, to turn the thing and say, it is the way they are getting married that is encouraging the galamsey. It's almost like there's no responsible adult in the community, right? Having them out of school and doing galamsey is bad enough. To now have churches encouraging them to get married is completely unconscionable.
Yeah.
And so if somebody from Solidarity that is listening, please send us a full report. We want to properly account for this. The Ghanaian Times reporter obviously has highlighted the part of the report that's newsworthy.
Okay.
All right. And the fact that over 5,500 children are engaged in galamsey should be of concern to us.
Yeah. Just quick correction. The age is actually 18 years and over.
So you can't get married if you are not 18.
Yeah, if you are below 18.
This is crazy. Anyway, let's get into tech and social media trends.
And then also, if it is the case that they are having sex and having children, so these are teenage, so it could well be teenage pregnancy, right? So if it is teenage pregnancy, what is the local, the district assembly doing about it? Because ultimately, these people go to hospital, don't they? And when they go to hospital,
the whole thing doesn't make sense.
It's some way.
We'll come back to this tech and social media trends next, brought to you by Vodafone. It's the One Ghana promotion. With just 1 Ghana cedi, you can have 20 minutes talk time to all other networks and 1 gig data every day between 5 a.m. and 11:59 a.m. Dial *530# subscribe and enjoy longer conversations and browsing. The Vodafone One Ghana promo is the best value offer in town and is easy on your pocket. Save big when you subscribe to the One Ghana promo daily. Wake up to great value every morning with only 1 cedi and 1 gig data and 20 minutes talk time. Also brought to you by Carl Bank. Let Carl Bank take charge of collecting the funeral donations while you take care of the rest. The Carl Bank is our collection platform It's a real-time online collection platform which helps you easily manage all donations, be it cash, check, or via any digital means. You instantly receive an alert whenever any donation is made, and you get a detailed statement to see all donations made. Call 0800 500 500 or visit us on our website, calbank.net, for more information. All right, so Godfred will bring us the segment for the morning.
Thank you very much, Bernard. And a couple of things have caught my eye on Twitter, Bernard. First of all, on education, one of our good friends, Kofi Asare, his handle is at Kofi Education, and his Africa Education Watch. They've been running a campaign where basically they provide an update from a region a day on the lack of desks. So today's focus is the Upper West region.
A region a day?
Yes. So today is pupils without desk, Upper West region. And on the handle at Kofi Education, it says 199,404 pupils in the Upper West region did not have desk by 2022. 80% of KG, 60% of primary, and 40% of GHS pupils did not have desk. So they are calling on the regional minister and the Minister of Education to intervene. So every region gets a day on that one. So you can check that out. Football dominates the trends in Ghana. Of course, Liverpool, Real Madrid was the big game yesterday. Vinicius is trending at number 4, of course, because of what he did to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Courtois.
What's that? What's that?
the frustrated Chelsea fan sing.
What is that?
We have accepted our fate.
What is that?
And then Thibaut Courtois, because of the error that he made yesterday, also trending quite high up. Esther Smith. You know Esther Smith, right? Yeah, she's trending. Gospels.
Why? She released a new song.
She has a couple of projects up, but she joined Twitter recently. And because of that, she's become quite active. So people are engaging with her. And people are just talking about how great a gospel musician is. They've mentioned her as one of the goats.
Esther Smith.
Yes, a couple of tweets.
I'm trying to remember my favorite song of hers.
Every song of hers is your favorite, don't worry.
C'est Christopher also. And
then Jinudi.
She has a
very distinctive
nice
voice.
Yes.
Almost SDA-like.
Yeah.
And then Asamoah is trending. Of course, because himself.
My favorite song is Jinudi.
Yes, that's what I was saying for you. Yes, Jinudi. Yes. Very powerful worship song.
Who is trending?
Asamoah is trending because he was at Atsu's family house.
So
alongside.
Atsu's thing is 4th March.
4th March.
So is it in Adan or where is it?
The details will be announced on that, but
where are they signing the book?
No, the family house here.
Oh, here in
yes,
in Accra.
Yes.
Okay.
So Samojan was there, Suleiman Muntari was
all
there.
the players. I saw Baba, what do you call it? Aminu Damani.
Yes.
All the
everybody.
Yes,
So let me move on to other stories that are trending quickly, and then we can move on. So there's a big court case, which is Skylikes Court.
Which one?
Now in the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, they are deciding the future of the internet.
Yes.
So oral argument started yesterday for the case for Gonzalez versus Google.
Thank you.
Now, this case is unique. They're looking at a very specific type of online interaction with potentially huge implications, Aloski. Now, the suit stems from an Islamic State shooting in Paris that killed a student called Nohemi Gonzalez in 2015. Her surviving family argued that YouTube had recommended videos by terrorists and therefore violated laws against aiding and abetting foreign terrorist groups. Now, while Section 230 of the U.S. Constitution typically protects sites from liability over user-generated content, this petition is arguing that YouTube created its own speech with its own recommendations. So basically, everybody is watching
what YouTube
this particular.
When you watch a video about once or twice, they then decide that these are kind of videos you want.
Yeah,
so they probably recommended videos of that same type to him, encouraging him to do what he did. So it's always their marketing tool.
Yeah.
But I think this guy is trying to say this is really YouTube culpable in.
Yes. Now, in fact, Eric Schnapper, who is the attorney for the Gonzalez family, is focusing a lot of his evidence on the use of thumbnails.
Yes.
Yeah,
suggestive imagery.
Yeah.
So it's a case we'll be keeping an eye on because these things will normally end up having an effect on what happens here. Now, locally, our own deputy majority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Malkin, in the Daily Graphic of today, is also suggesting that a private members bill be brought to regulate the use of social media by children.
I actually think
Ghana.
they should not be allowed onto a social media platform until they are 16.
Yeah, I think that's the view he also takes.
I think so, because it's so insidious, and what they do is they target you, they send you messages, and Look, let's as a society agree that the interweb is vast, it is good, but there are many dark alleys that we don't want our kids on until they are responsible enough to know what to do. So if there's a bill, I'll support it. At least age 16.
Yeah.
And if you lie about your age, it should also be punishable.
Exactly.
All right, let me wrap this up quickly with 2 more updates. So ChatGPT is dominant these days, right? Well, in India, there are some people who are trying to connect WhatsApp and ChatGPT.
I'll tell you something about ChatGPT. So, like, you can do random searches, and some of the things it gives you, AI is AI. But I'll give you an example. Somebody put my name in ChatGPT. Who is Bernard Avle? Okay, every search gave a different answer in terms of what I do. But you can tell that it's not a human being, because I think there was a time on my show, this show that was being streamed, I think they wrote The Zone on this radio streaming app.
Okay.
So instead of writing the name of Citi Breakfast, they wrote The Zone. So it basically pulled that information and said, I host a show called The Zone.
Yeah, which is
inaccurate.
You see, so for me, those types of errors mean that if a human who knows the real thing does not tidy it up, you can get some very wrong information, because AI is AI. It works with that, but it does not. There are certain levels of cleanup that you need a human being to do. That's
true.
But I'm sure they are still perfecting it. So,
Yes. And then finally, just a tip, I'm sure a lot of you would have encountered this. Twitter is changing its rules around the SMS two-factor authentication. I'm sure you'd have received that message as soon as you got on Twitter yourself. Yes, well, they are changing the rules. So I'm going to tell you that if you don't want to pay, what you can do. All right? So you can use an authenticator app. So you can use the Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. These are free. So instead of sending a user a text message with a code, the apps generate one-time codes that the user can enter when they log into an account after entering their username and password. You can also use a security key. Now, a security key generates a code for a user to enter, but unlike the authentication app, it's a physical device. So you can use that one as well. It's annoying.
But the two-factor thing.
That's all for me.
I was hot at some point. I needed to submit some file before a deadline. So I submitted the thing, but apparently I submitted what I had edited. So I needed to resubmit. The system had closed, and then I needed to go back into the system. And when you enter your password, it will tell you that, okay, we sent you a text message. Meanwhile, I had also lost my mobile phone. Hey, Charlie.
So what did you do?
That day, I had to go and apply for extension.
My God.
Because it was a technical problem, and it was one of the things that actually saved me.
Internet thing.
The internet thing is away.
Yo, bro, I beg, make you give me correct shock absorber. Or make a do video concept, then take the Gaussian P for the engine show you.
Hey, yawa humache. Every morning you the tear calls, they browse. Actually, something they.
Hey, Tago, the way town make hot. I grow best so I know if you know. If it be you where you get Vodafone 1 Ghana promo them out. 20 minutes talk time to call all networks. Where you start get data and 1 gig from 5 a.m. to 11:59 a.m. Bye. Anka you go do pass me self, Anka. You dial *530# hash. Make we enjoy. You go fit subscribe as many times as you want.
Yes, plantain chips.
Yo, sweet Ama, take this by Vodafone 1 Ghana bundle. Moku vibe plus video calls and taste. You catch the vibe. Early morning, 5 a.m. sharp.
Vodafone. Further together.
Sir, make what make you go. You need to go to the bank first before we go and pay for the things. Time no day like that too.
Relax. Everything dey in my hand inside.
Massa, you need to get the cash.
Forget the cash. See, transfer, payment. I dey use the Cowbank app. No stress.
That's slow for me. I still forgo my bank. I don't have account for Cowbank.
I say forget the cash. Even without an account at Cowbank, you can download the app, sign up, and connect your mobile money wallet or debit card. And you can make your payments too.
Hey, I just signed up.
Enjoy the convenience, safety, and freedom of the Cowbank app. Whether you have an account with Cowbank or not, all options are open to you, including scan to pay. Download the Cowbank app now. Forget the cash.
Feel like I for just open account for Cowbank.
On the app, no.
Cowbank, forward together.
Cowbank. Forward together.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
1 Ghana, 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 1
There will never be a better time to buy a new Samsung phone. Love is in the air, and great gifts await you when you buy selected Samsung phones this February. Automatically get up to 2,000 cedis worth of fuel coupons, spa, shopping vouchers, as well as phone cases and more when you buy selected phones at our authorized stores. If you've been waiting months to buy a new phone, this is the time to stop telling yourself next month. Live a little and leave with a gift.
This offer is valid throughout this February. But if you have a sweet tooth, shop in our partner stores from the 11th to 14th February and get free extra chocolate. Valentine is here. Buy a Samsung and get a gift. Terms and conditions apply.
1xBet. Easy betting, easy winnings. 1xBet, the most reliable service to make deposits easily with high odds and numerous bonuses on the spot. Register now at 1xBet.com.gh. Use promo code BESTODDSGH to get 300% bonus up to 3,445 Ghana cedis on your first deposit. Easy to use, easy to have a chance to win. 1xBet, reliable bookmaker. Gambling can be addictive. Bet responsibly. Not for person under 18 years. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission.
There are moments in life when you're just so scared and you feel like just giving up. Oh, but Dino Milk is saying, we know that you can do it. Believe in yourself and then go for it. Go for it. Nourishment, oh, that is your Dino Milk. Oh.
Choose nourishment. Choose Dino Milk Whole Cow, your nutritious instant powdered milk.
Dano Milk. Go for it.
This advert is FDA approved.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Abrabonyina ne wana monto asetramu konim die nyina gyan oso enso se wan kentima etraye de sonda yempo kafra enframa de hu pade a onyo ensa anya dmanso ensa na didio kre manifesta dance eni mafutu like worry about all the things I did lack. Young, gifted, and black. Gift the gap and I rap. I suppose I should clap. Give thanks and give dap. Put my son on my lap or run a victory lap. Opportunity knocks, but we too deaf to hear. Put to death our fears, bring to life our dreams. We out here, we don't adhere to regular rules. Our mama's fasting and praying for our circular fools. With some reckless dudes, lust for shoes and jewels. New chucks, custom made in such golden stews. Mysterious life, Nancy Drew shared no clues. Curious knife, stabbed us, now we bleed and bruise. Confusing ones with needs, what I want and need. A house in Trasaco, a villa, and not down with jet skis. Jet setting in the minutes, 30 seconds, and I reckon no question. Make every first I get the best impression. To just suppose I juxtapose me now with me when I was 16 years old. Innocence lost in less than 15 years though. I'm distinguished, so they can't extinguish my flow. I overpowered all these cowards, them no good fit, them need juju. I know I don't have to pound them, need for food. Minyor chia, when it's ya, so I save susu. No shortcuts to heaven, as Yesu is true. Abrabonyina ne wana monto asetramu konim die nyina gyan oso enso se wan kentima etraye de sonda yempo kafra enframa de hu pade a onyo ensa anya dmanso ensa na didio kre manifesta dance eni mafutu eti waso pem ne beboa. No shortcut to
16 minutes past 8 Citi Breakfast Show. If you are finding it challenging managing your value-added service on Vodafone, the Vodafone Content Manager now allows you to check, control, and subscribe to value-added services with ease. Be in control of your mobile content subscriptions and choose the type of content that suits your style. Dial *463#. Visit my Vodafone app now to conveniently manage all your content subscriptions. Vodafone, further together.
The boys they do for it. But dear Lord,
it's the Imperial Insurance Insure and Win promo. From now to 31st March, insure your vehicle with Imperial General Assurance and win handsome rewards. Yes, it's instant. Just insure and pick your reward Fuel coupons, gift vouchers, special souvenirs, and more. And here's the deal. Imperial is also giving you a free 1-year life insurance cover as part of your motor insurance cover. Get it double from Imperial General. Call 0302-788-955 or 0577-667-436 or talk to any of our agents across the country for further details. Imperial General Assurance, solid protection. And the rich taste of Dano milk makes a perfect combination with your beverages to give you great taste that you've always desired. Rich in protein, fortified with vitamins, and essential nutrients to keep you nourished and healthy every day. It has iodine, it has calcium. Choose Dano because 100% of our milk is sourced from our farms in Europe. So we control the entire production process to ensure the milk gets to you in its natural state. Dano milk, go for it. We have the 3-in-1 coffee, the 3-in-1 chocolate, and the cool cow or plain powdered milk. All right, here are some reactions to this very strange story. Let me read a few for you.
Bernard, see whether I can make sense out of it.
The Etiwa story doesn't make sense. We need to interrogate it further. The church has become a convenient target. By the time the church officiates a marriage, the assembly must also do its part, which includes checking for essentials and formalities of marriage. The eligibility of the parties is a key part of the process. The bigger blame should be placed on institutions of state. Maybe it's a lazy report or lazy journalism. Well, for me, I think I need to read a full report. I don't think it's lazy. I feel like the angle they use is based on the story they saw. Typically, when the research result is put out, it's very big. So you look for the key story, and the story is that 5,600 people who are underage are doing galamsey. And one of the interesting highlights was that when young people see people who have benefited from the proceeds of galamsey marry, it encourages them to marry. But I'm not sure we can blame the church. So I think the lead of the journalist is problematic because the reason 5,677 children are in galamsey is not because of churches. It's because of the fact that they are getting money and nobody's preventing them from doing it. Do you get me? I think the church angle is probably an interesting observation. Unless, of course, the research ascertain that it's the wedding that is causing the galamsey, which I think will be...
It's not the church, but the marriage, you see, which is facilitated then by that. But if the way I want to look at this, and again, like I said, we're all looking for the full details of the report. But I will not downplay this too much. Like I said, I agree with you a bit on maybe the framing
of the lead.
Yeah, of the lead could be problematic.
Another comment. Bernard, this is confusing. As the district was not mentioned in any part of the text he read, even the figures, we are all sure we are not sure if it's Etiwa or the whole Ghana. You know, it's true. It's a confusion because
but the whole Ghana.
I don't think 5,600 children in Etiwa are doing galamsey.
Yeah, that would be a larger.
That would be too much. That would be scandalous. So, you know, and I don't know whether the journalists didn't have the look. I don't know what to say. The point is that the child labor in galamsey is a big problem.
It's leading to because the kids can afford these things suddenly, right? But I think the underlying factor in this, when you look at even the child marriage in Ghana generally, the factors that lead people into child marriage is mostly financial. There's the social, there's the cultural. The northern parts especially seem to have that. The eastern region does not seem to have such a significant record of some of these early marriages. But I can take the elements of competition and all those things in the sense that once these kids start becoming exposed to a certain level of wealth, however limited, they start feeling that, oh, okay, I can do A, B, C, D, right? So for a lot of these families, it's a path out of poverty. So you have a 16-year-old girl or this who has met her 16 or 17-year-old boyfriend. They've probably been together. And let's not downplay the fact that the sexual awareness age in this country, I don't know whether it has gone up or it has gone down, but people are becoming sexually aware very early. Let us not downplay that.
Social media, a huge part.
Not even, especially even in the rural areas, social media might not be as significant a role, but the sexual awareness levels are really high.
10, 11.
Yes, they know what they experiment because conversations might not be had. Okay, so you have a situation where the galamsey now puts some money in their hands. They're able to do things that adults do and feel that they do not need to wait for adults. They don't need to wait for adulthood to get to that point because
once he has money, he has power.
He can do what he wants. Now, the families or the parents, for that matter, or the guardians will look on because one side might be poor. Okay, there's somebody coming in now to take my daughter or my son off my hand who has a certain level of wealth. That wealth will flow to me because now we'll get something. Now, the mention of competition that comes in is something that we cannot also downplay because even in our own context, we've done reports here from some of the coastal areas where the competition is real.
Among
it was an like this. So why is it that this colleague of mine had this Kujemo? I'm having a Kujemo that will be bigger than that Kujemo. So it's not so far-fetched in that regard when it comes to the level of competition then. Because again, the access to the galamsey wealth now means that if A had a wedding or a naming ceremony, well, I won't say wedding, a marriage ceremony or a naming ceremony that had 50 people attend and there were 3 cakes, B's boyfriend or her husband or her partner now can do for 100 and bring 5 cakes.
Let me
so there is also that.
Are we not the same people when the Europeans do stories and say we are using children to produce cocoa? We say, oh,
yeah,
it's not child labor, but children are taught to farm with their fathers. It's not part of it. So it's not a problem. Why are they trying to discriminate against our chocolate because they say child labor is involved? Can we say that honestly and now say that there's something wrong with children doing galamsey? Do you get me? If you are defending children doing cocoa farming, why are you criticizing children working in mining?
Because the circumstances are different.
Explain.
What happens, there are different levels of danger involved, but the concept of illegal mining itself is such that you do not expect a father to take a son or a daughter into that kind of environment, which is generally
more
dangerous as compared to a father taking a son or a daughter to a cocoa farm, which is part of the acculturation of the family.
Okay.
You understand?
So they are different.
So I'm saying there are dangers involved in both, and there are elements of child labor involved in both.
Let me make it interesting.
But
let me make it interesting
for galamsey.
So let's assume I have a cocoa farm in Etiwa East. I'm 70 years old, and my last born is 15.
Yeah.
And the cocoa farm is not yielding, so we've sold it to some galamsey people.
Yeah, you've collected your money.
And whilst the cocoa farm was there, my boy was helping me on the farm. But now the cocoa farm, they yield. So we sold it to some galamsey guys, and they said, Charlie, they are looking for that gold. And this boy has started working with me on the farm, but he has nothing to do. Isn't it more likely that he will join the people on the galamsey pit to also look for gold?
Yes, that is what is happening, which is why the children are getting involved. And
I'm using that to say that then we should take this issue of children working on cocoa farms more seriously, because you see, once the society agrees for children to do a certain type of work, they may not see it as a big problem to move from cocoa farming to galamsey, because it's still chill. Even though it's more dangerous. So maybe we should say, if you are below 16, you be in school. Don't do any work.
But that is what the law is. But
so why are children working on cocoa farms?
Because there is no law that prevents you from taking your son to the cocoa farm. There is a law that prevents you from sending a child to the galamsey pit.
Is the law specific to galamsey?
It's illegal. There's a law that says you cannot do this.
But see, that's the thing. There's legal small-scale mining. So what if I'm doing small-scale mining, which is legal? I have a concession, and I've been given, because not all small-scale mining is illegal.
Yes, but but again, the research will indicate that the legitimate small-scale concessions rarely take children to their areas.
Who polices that?
No, even the association. Let's give the association a certain level of credit. They have structures and systems in place to ensure that largely, I won't say wholly,
if a child is on a galamsey pit, it is illegal.
It is illegal. Most of the small scale ones who are so properly structured will not allow it.
So if there's a child on a galamsey pit, it is illegal.
Yes, they will not allow it.
But you see, we also have to distinguish between what is legal in the sense of what is child labor and what is the child accompanying the father to do some work? Because if you look at the international definition as applied by the ILO, and I referred to this much earlier this year, it says, labor refers to work that deprives, child labor refers to work that deprives any person under the age of 18 years of age of their childhood, their potential and their dignity, and that is harmful to their physical and or mental development. So if you unpack this definition, we must first of all determine whether the person is under 18 years of age. If that person is under 18 years, then clearly the person is a child. Now, the work that they are doing, is the work dignifying or is taking away from their dignity? If it is taking away from their dignity, then it comes within the scope of child labor. Again, is the work harmful to them? If it is harmful to them, in which case you are using cyanide and these other things, or perhaps you are cutting trees in a cocoa farm, that will potentially endanger his life, or he is the person cutting the trees in a way that endangers his life, then clearly it is harmful.
My question is, how is this even enforced? Because these things you are reading are like the standard. So give another example. I am a man who goes to sea. I fish. And I go with my 12-year-old son. I want to show him my profession. He wants to learn what daddy does. And when I'm pulling the rope, he's pulling with me. Is it child labor or not?
So you have to then look at closely at the facts. The facts as in, how are you pulling the net? And when you are pulling the net, is the child exposed to some serious harm? Have you taken the child to sea at the time that he should be in school? Because all those things will ordinarily derogate from the development, the useful development of the child.
Let me ask you another question. The developed countries we see, how do they engage their children in
apprenticeship?
How do they do it? Is there a framework? Because it seems like it's very fluid and it depends on what the father wants to do. I don't know whether this is something that we can legally properly define, or whether we should just say society should do what it wants because we've been working on farms for years and nobody has died. Do you get me?
Yes.
Or should we come and say, let's have a specific law about children involved in work, which would define the way the law operates, and then put in place a mechanism to even police it? Because other than that, it's a very fluid situation to say children are working in farms or what. I used to go
exactly,
to the
because
village when I was young to go and carry firewood. We'll follow our grandmother to the farm. When you come back, we'll carry nake and bring it back home. You get me? Was that child labor? Or was it training you to understand the way? I'm not sure now.
All right. But I just want to try and make sense of the reports. Let's not digress too
No, but it's all part because
the
report is narrow and problematic. The way it's been captured.
Captured, yes.
So if I limit the discussion to the report,
it will be some way.
I'll probably mislead the public. And I suspect that
we need to see the full
angle
report
that Claude
on the church.
Claude Nyako used was, again, I'm a journalist, I can see what he's doing. If you see a big report, you're looking for what is the story. And the story is that there are 5,600 children in child labor, and the role of the churches in marriages is encouraging it. But whether that paints the right picture of the report and the right picture of the situation, I'm not sure. Because there are too many questions which has not been answered by the story. 5,600, is it a tiwa of the whole Ghana? All right? And which churches, which examples? Did you speak to anybody? So, for example, I would have said, Ni Ayikwe, go to a Tiwa East and talk to a young person involved in marriage or galamsey or whatever.
If I read the text of the story, I think it is quite clear that the 5,677 is a national figure.
You can see that.
I can see that clearly from the context of it.
Okay, but can you see the jump from church to children galamsey? I feel it.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We need because he says that they've been cited for it. So I don't want to dwell to, but I just want to look at the larger problem of. I'm not saying it's too far-fetched because elements of it already exist in terms of, one, the fact that we already have early marriages in Ghana. It's not a new thing. How does it happen? You understand? Two, the fact that most of this is factored in by poverty. Now, galamsey happens in places where there are no alternative livelihoods. We already know this. This is basic at the moment. Three, the early access to the wealth means that suddenly these children grow up really quick. So they feel that they can do the things that Richard Sky should be doing or somebody else should be doing. So the early marriage of whatever it is that they are doing there, facilitated by whichever entities these are, whether they are so-called properly set up churches or legally mandated to do what it is they're supposed to, or 2x4 churches, we don't know what it is they are. Okay, so it's interwoven in there. Because one, education, we cannot dispel the fact that these are very poor places. But all I'm saying is that these elements exist. I agree with you that we do not need to post this on the doorstep of the churches and say, because of the churches being willing to marry them, people are doing galamsey. As for that one, it becomes a weird...
I need to make a slight clarification here. So, when we use the example of following my grandmother to the farm, and following my father to the farm, I think we need to distinguish between
light work,
not even that,
and hazardous work.
Work is defined as providing labor for a fee. Okay, so if I follow my grandmother to the farm and I carry firewood back home and I do some weeding, she doesn't pay me. So you can say I'm not working.
Yeah.
But if I am employed as a child in, maybe my job is to enter a shop. Maybe they are doing some sewing, and my job is to be sewing football in a sweatshop, and I'm paid
by the hour,
$2 per hour. I'm working. So again, if I follow my father to the cocoa farm, and I help him to spread the cocoa beans, and I don't get paid, it's because the reason that child labor is a problem is that the child can be exploited, and they will not be paid. So I just wanted to clarify that. When you're talking about child labor, the reason the galamsey problem is serious is that the child goes, probably because the pits are small, they want kids to enter. There are certain things only people of a certain size can do.
It, yeah.
So in making the child go into that pit to do whatever they are supposed to do, and then they pay them either in gold or in cash, it's a more serious situation than simply, and I'm sort of supporting Godfrey here.
Yeah, I wanted to
the labor issue.
Let me give you some legal context.
Yes, please.
So if you go to the Children's Act, there is an express prohibition of exploitative child labor. So this is captured under Part 5 of the employment, which deals with employment of children. Subpart 1, child labor, says Section 87, 1, no person shall engage a child in exploitative labor. And then subsection 2 says that labor is exploitative of a child if it deprives the child of its health, education, or development. Then there's also prohibition of child labor at night. So that's Section 88. Subsection 1 says, no person shall engage a child in night work. And subsection 2 says, night work constitutes work between the hours of 8 o'clock in the evening and 6 o'clock in the morning. And then there's a further clarification dealing with the minimum age for child labor. Section 89 says the minimum age for admission of a child to employment, which is what you were talking about or trying to distinguish, shall be 15 years. So the minimum wage for work age for working.
If you are 15,
you
can work for pay.
Exactly.
So like you be a mate or whatever job they get.
But there is a further, explanation. Section 90 says, which deals with minimum age for light work. So work that is light, like this thing that you went to do with your grandmother if you were paid for it. Now Section 90 subsection 1 says the minimum age for the engagement of a child in light work shall be 13 years.
Sky, don't you think that we need to proscribe child labor of all forms and simply say, because of free, compulsory, universal basic education, anybody below 16 should be in school all the time?
What if there's no school there?
That is public policy, government
yes,
policy.
I'm trying to marry the school.
But what if there's no school
They
there?
should do vacation activities in school.
No, but I'm saying, what if there are, because you see, that's what we also tend to ignore. What if there are no schools in the area? Because we are assuming that there are schools everywhere in this country.
Yeah, but once you have made a law that makes free, the word is compulsory.
Yes.
So you can't say...
But I can only be compulsed when there's a building to go and sit in.
I'm coming on. If education is I understand the vacation question, but if education is compulsory, compulsory means everybody is included. So you cannot be under 16 and not be in school. And you cannot be in school and be working. Unless, of course, you are saying during their closing time. I feel like we can marry the child labor law with the education law. We can come up with a law that can merge all of this into one. Okay, because where we've gotten to, we don't think we should be letting people of a certain age be engaged in certain kinds of things.
It can make sense.
And I think the laws are scattered and they are so different that it's not very clear. And maybe this story gives us a chance to say, let's harmonize all this into a law around education, children, child labor, exploitation, all into one.
But the point I'm again making is, even if you do that, okay, the point still holds that we are assuming that schools exist everywhere. So if in the community that I live in, okay, I have to...
but the fact that there's no school doesn't mean you should work.
No, so...
They should find a school for you.
Where?
In the closest community. I mean...
So that means...
Ghana has...
but that would also mean exposing perhaps the child to all kinds of danger.
No, but Godfrey, if you check Kofi Asari, the reports they have, we have over 5,000 something basic schools. We have so many basic schools in Ghana. I mean, Ghana is one of the countries in Africa.
Bernard, you see?
No, every district has a basic school. Every local. That's why you call it LA. Look, if Ghana hasn't done anything at all,
there's a structure.
Most locals have a basic school. That's why they call LA.
Yeah, but that is local authority. But you see,
but
what
local
the point
authority
is making is that, Bernard, if you go to certain parts of this country, to be fair to him, you would have to walk like from here to Tetekwashi.
The Atitia Gomez story.
But you see,
to get to the next.
I don't know where I agree with this. My point is that once something is compulsory, the state must provide a resource.
Yes.
So the fact that the school is not there does not then mean that they should be involved in child labor.
That's true.
So my point is, I'm saying that let's use our compulsory education to refine the laws around child labor, so that from times that you are supposed to be in school, no work. Vacation time, there can be light work, which is meant to be like an apprentice type of work or training. It must not be paid. Do you get me?
You helping your father at the farm.
End of story. So whatever. So you are in school throughout, and on vacation you can do light work, but not be paid for it. Because once the issue of pay comes in, so even if you are 15 and you don't have, both parents are dead, by law the state must make sure you are in school and pay for your schooling. That's why it's compulsory. So you can be 15 years old and be an orphan, but the state is enjoined to make sure you are studying in school. You should not be engaged in any work until you are 16. That's what we should say. And we should make it clear. You see, the reason we are stopping is that we are always trying to say, it's the Western people, the white people say we shouldn't do this, and therefore we are trying to eat our cake and have it. We are trying to nitpick. Once you have identified that people of a certain age cannot engage in work, let's just enforce it. Okay, and if we are having kids in cocoa farms that we think are playing a certain role within the context of apprenticeship and learning how to weed and things, is fine. Apart from that, no child should be engaged in any kind of work. Full stop. Then you know that once you see a child engaged in work, there's an adult who must be blamed and possibly sanctioned. But when you try and do all this, let's do this, let's do that, confusion. And for me, we are being hypocritical in a way, because we are trying to, on one hand, say that people don't understand our culture. Yet we also know that we are exploiting children. You hear me? But when it suits us, we say it's our culture. When it doesn't suit us, we say it's a child labor. We can't progress like that.
But Bernard, I think let me give you a typical example of myself. When I was in Adafiano, my mom will go to the market on market days. What she does is to collect fish, like smoked fish, dry ones, and from places like Tema, Adan, Cape Coast, and these other areas. They bring them to the Denu market. So she and her sisters will go receive these goods and then take them into the market. Now, when I wake up in the morning on a market day, I will go together with my nephews and, these people. We'll go to the market. And what we do is that we go to where they offload the goods. And with a ticket, we will carry the goods on our heads and then take them to the market proper, because the market is enclosed, right? You have to pay the ticket to the district assembly people, and they will admit you inside. Now, the process of transporting a basket of smoked fish from the lorry station all the way into the market between the hours of 5:30 in the morning or 4 o'clock, as the case may be, and then 7 a.m. thereabout, before I leave for school, can you strictly say that although I was doing that in furtherance of a course to supplement the family's income, I was in exploitative labor?
It's a very good question. Because at the time, because of family circumstance, you needed to help your mother. We can admit that it was a certain level of... So your mates will be in school studying because they had better means, which is why when the government says we will pay for a child's education, so in 2023, ideally, I'm being idealistic here, ideally, you should be able to go to school, be fed, because some of the things you were doing was because you needed school fees, you needed food to eat, because of the condition. But we are saying now that we have school feeding program, we have compulsory basic education, we have capitation grants. So by what we are saying by our laws in 2023, what you did in 1988 should not repeat itself in 2023. So in your case, I don't think there was a law and a provision. If you didn't do that, you probably not get food to eat. And I'm not saying that there's no child in Ghana who doesn't have to do this. What I'm saying is that we have to agree as a society that no child should be forced to do what you did to survive. In a 2023 Ghana, with all the resources we have, and with all the laws we have created, we should be able to say that Sky can walk to school. He will get a hot meal a day. And it is true, that hot meal is what is keeping a lot of children in school. Because your mother doesn't want you to go to school and be hungry. So she makes sure she has some money to give you. But today, based on all the government has told us, that 8-year-old boy in Adafienu, even if he doesn't have shoes, he will get textbooks, he will get a teacher teaching him, he will get food to eat. Do you understand? So there's no reason why he should go and be carrying that fish at 8 o'clock. When his colleagues in Accra, Christ the King School, are doing robotics things, we are disadvantaging him. So we shouldn't glorify, and I'm not downplaying your story. I'm saying that we can decide what we want as a society. And we should not allow a child to go through what you went through. We have so many resources we waste. So how much does it cost to feed a child a day? That the state cannot do it in a public school. They should be able to do it. They said they've cut down travels, they've cut down many things. You should be able to say, even in the most deprived community, once the child gets into the school, he will get one meal. And one meal makes a big difference, because even if you eat porridge in the morning at home, raw porridge with no bread, and then you get to school and you have wachi or rice and stew at 12:30, you are okay till evening. Do you understand me? So for me, the F cube should be implemented with resources. We shouldn't just make it a campaign promise and put it on paper. We must ensure that look, there are communities where they call it school access has risen just because of one program, for school feeding. Many parents send their kids to school because they know they'll get food to eat. We know it works, but we are not committed to putting money in it, because apart from the vote issue, we are not really committed to the poor in this society. And I think that the answer to child labor is a rigorous implementation of F cube. I'm telling you, if the Educhum and his guys will make sure that the same level of energy they are putting to free SHS is put to basic education. Basic education. You talk about classrooms. If the classrooms are there in good shape, teachers are there, they get food to eat, they'll go. Let's get back to this report. I have here Breachum, Program Manager of Solidaridad. And thank you, Fred, for putting this together. To try and get more clarity on this report, when it was done, what it covered, what it was trying to look at, and whether the angle being put in the news is fair. Mr. Breachum, good morning.
Good morning, Bernard.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So this Ghanaian Times report cites Solidaridad research report into child labor, and basically gives us two big stories: that over 5,600 children are engaged in Galamsey, and that church and other religious bodies in the mining communities have encouraged early marriage and child labor. First and foremost, what report was this? What were you studying? When was the study done? Give us the basic highlights of this report.
Okay, so we are a solution-oriented civil society organization promoting sustainable and inclusive supply chains. So we work in a number of commodities, including cocoa, oil palm, etc. So gold is one of the commodities that we try to improve on practices within the supply chain. over the years, we've realized that one of the main challenges with regards to small-scale mining is to do with children's involvement in the sector, especially to do with the illegal mining sector. So as an organization, we try to come out with solutions for that. And we try to also come out with solutions that are sustainable, that also have a high impact as well. So we've been engaging with the Minerals Commission over the years, and we thought it wise to support them to develop what we call a child labor eradication framework for the small-scale mining sector to guide the sector in reducing or eliminating child labor in the small-scale mining space. So basically, that's what the project is about. The Minerals Commission by itself developed a draft document, and we commissioned a study. We gave it out to a consultant to support the Minerals Commission to finalize the draft child labor eradication framework. So basically, the meeting that we had yesterday was to validate the findings of the consultant. And so we invited a number of stakeholders to participate in that. And of course, we did literature review as well. So the figure that you quoted as the number of children, for instance, was based on literature, I think a study done by one other organization. We also, as part of the development of the child labor framework, of course, we combined field data collection and also literature review. So as part of the field data collection, we decided to do data collection in the Tiwa East district because, of course, there are lots of illegal mining activities. So we don't see this as more of a typical doing a study to look at the challenges to do with child labor in Ghana generally. No, this was just to feed into the development of the child labor eradication framework. And as part of the findings of the consultant, we realized that some churches were involving or were virtually trying to facilitate children getting married. And that was one isolated case. So with that, we thought it wise to also, of course, validate that. We have to, of course, also ensure that we talk to other stakeholders so that we can then generalize and say that this is the issue. So for now, we see it as more of an isolated case in the Tiwa East district. But we need to do further studies together with other CSOs, for instance, to then generalize and say that this is one of the challenges. So this is virtually new to all of us.
So it was an isolated case in Tiwa East.
Exactly, yes.
But the 5,677 children engaging, is this for the district or for the whole country?
For the whole country, that was a study done by, is it Third World Network or so? One other organization did that. So we got that from literature review, not from this particular field exercise, yes.
So, but Tiwa East was the area for this particular study?
Yes.
And what was the level of child involvement in Galamsey in the district? Do you have any scale? Were there any numbers to show how serious the situation was?
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier, the study wasn't to really look at that specifically. It was to guide the development of the child labor eradication framework. So we, of course, also, so this is not a typical study looking at, let's say, the challenges or the prevalence of child labor in a particular district. No, it was just to guide or to inform the development of the child labor eradication framework.
I see, but why Tiwa East and not other places?
Yes, because we already have a project there. And also, we see Tiwa East as one of the areas that has a very high incidence of child labor with regards to other literature that we reviewed. That's why we decided to select that as the case study for this particular assignment.
So what is your working definition of child labor?
Okay, so we go by the ILO's definition of child labor. So that, of course, also includes the first point is the age. In Ghana, and of course, we go by the country's regulations. In Ghana, it should be more than 18 years. And you should be given opportunity to go to school as well. So if, for instance, you are less than 18 years and you are engaged in work, for instance, then definitely that is seen as child labor. But of course, also, we have what we call socialization. So it depends on the type of activity. In the mining space, Ghana has declared mining generally as a hazardous activity. So generally, once you see any child in mining, it's straight away the child is involved in child labor, and also it's hazardous as well. But if, let's say, it's in cocoa, for instance, there are certain activities within the cocoa space that a child can do, and it's seen as socialization. You are teaching your child how to farm and all that, as long as it's not hazardous to the health of the child. So these are some of the things that we consider in then saying that this child is into.
Well, some people feel that the advocacy about child labor, although well-intended, also has some trade and sort of, how do I even put it? There are certain aspects of it which basically just want to give our cocoa a bad name, so that they'll say Ghana's cocoa was not sourced from in a sustainable way, and that means that children were involved at some point in the value chain, and therefore we will either not buy the cocoa or we will sanction Ghana. I mean, what do you make of that? Because you've just explained to me that there are things children do on cocoa farms which is not work. All right, and when we're all young, we follow our grandmother to the farm, we do stuff during vacation. That's not supposed to be considered work. But somehow there's a view that particularly the European or the Western concept of child labor seems to prejudice and downplay these things we do on our farms. And the real intention is to give our cocoa a bad name for whatever reason. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yes. So as an organization, we are against that perception. We think that we should go by the definition of child labor as per the ILO Convention, and also per the country's regulations as well. You remember I did mention socialization. So, of course, if you see a child, for instance, in a cocoa farm, that doesn't mean that a child is involved in child labor, because he or she might have accompanied the parent to the cocoa farm to do minor activities, being socialized or being trained as to how to go about the farming activities and all that, as long as it's not hazardous. So that one is termed as child work. So we should know the difference between child work and child labor as well. So as part of we have another project being funded by NORAD. And with that project, for instance, we are trying to educate people on what we mean by child work, child labor, and hazardous work as well. So there are differences between all these. So this should be made clear. So once you see a child, for instance, in a cocoa farm with a parent, doesn't mean that the child is in child labor. But once you see a child on a mining site, straight away it's hazardous, because per our country's regulations, we've declared mining generally as a hazardous activity. So we don't expect children to be there.
Finally, you said this is a report that you are validating. How alarmed were you at the aspect that churches and religious centers in mining communities are encouraging galamsey by promoting early marriage and child labor? I was completely blown away by that. How are you? What other questions are you going to ask to validate such a finding?
Okay, so generally, we believe in the fact that, of course, there should be triangulation and all that. So we just shouldn't get it from one source. So once we saw that, we thought, no, this is new. We need to verify this. I remember there was even a comment from the Minerals Commission as well whilst we were reviewing the documents. So what we said was that, okay, then we should do a follow-up study to then confirm this, because this is new. We've never heard of this. I didn't mention earlier on that it's an isolated case. So we think that we should do a more detailed study to be able to verify this as to whether this is happening generally or it was just one isolated case.
Thank you. Please keep us informed when you do the reports, and when you do the validation, we want to know the outcome. That was Yao Brichum, Program Manager Solidaridad. Throwing more light on this, and I think, guys, we are a bit relaxed now. So this was one isolated case which they are now trying to even check if it's true with other areas. But the other issue is that the 5,600 is a national number. You are right as well about that. And the issue of child labor must be distinguished from child work, where child work is a child who is working with his parents or whatever. Child labor is clearly defined in the ILO Convention, and that is prescribed. So I think he's thrown a bit more light on this, he said. But I still insist that education is the route to dealing with child labor, because once you make education compulsory and you make it attractive, and you create things that encourage poor people to send their children to school. You see, a lot of parents, I'd rather keep the child with me on the farm than to go to school and be hungry. All right? So if the school is going to feed the child is going to get textbooks, child is going to be exercised. You see, we shouldn't always think the politicians are foolish. When the politicians say they are doing free sandals, free textbooks, free exercise books, sometimes we sit here and say, oh, why are they doing everything free? It's easy for us to say this in Accra because our children go to rich church. But if you are in Kwame Danso, you have 8 children, 4 of them are school-going age, and the government says they'll give you sandals, they'll give you textbook, and they'll give you food. It's a major thing for you.
But we haven't objected to
No,
that.
not you.
I'm just saying that let's find a way of determining who needs the sandals. Let's find a more scientific way of projecting how many pairs of sandals do we need. What kind of resources can we put together to afford the number of sandal pairs we need? You understand? Because what's the point in giving sandals to somebody who is at Christ the King who doesn't need it?
So let me ask you a question. So the means testing is crucial. I think the question the politicians ask is that, so until you do the means testing, what should those children who cannot afford do?
It's a legitimate question, but the politicians should also ask themselves that have they determined the level of their resource readiness before getting into it?
That's also a good question.
Yes. How can we see what we see? We move in 1 step forward, 2 steps back because we haven't made a proper determination of the levels of our resources.
Let me come back. So why can't we say parents who believe they can afford should just opt out?
Well, it's not about belief. This is not based on belief. It's a structure. It's a structure that has to be built to be able to identify who is exposed, who is in need, so that the system can come to their aid. The world over, that's how it's done. You see, the blanket thing has never worked anywhere before.
So I'm pushing this again. So you have private schools and public schools. So we can say parents who take their children to private schools obviously opt out of certain things. So if you say you are giving free sandals, free textbooks, free food to public school, that is also a means testing. Because in a sense, you are saying a public school generally serves in underserved areas and generally serves poorer parents. So when you start it with public schools, it may not be perfect, but you are basically means testing.
That's one
As
way.
a beginning.
That's one way of doing it. But let's find out whether that has resolved the problem. Let's find out whether that has resolved the problem. It still hasn't resolved the problem. What we are saying is that even within the public school system, there are different grades. Again, the world over. The fact that it's owned by the government doesn't mean that is a low level in terms of quality. So what we are saying is that scholarship structure, the support you give to children, if we do blanket, we'll fire.
But back to this. The secondary schools point, from what you're saying, I take it from secondary schools, public secondary schools are probably even better than private secondary schools as we speak, generally. But I'm talking about basic school, so maybe class 0 to class 6. Generally speaking, well-to-do middle-class parents, I'm using 2 terms now, will not send their child to a public basic school. Generally.
Because of how the thing is structured today. You understand? Because of how it's structured today. Look, I did primary school many years ago. But I can say for me, from class 1 to class 3, I was in Saito like every other person. And my transition from Saito to state experimental school, I didn't even see the difference.
Which is the Saito? No?
Yeah, but Saito is your typical public school.
The other point is that
LA. No, yes, but I was in the military school.
The point is that in the 80s and in the 70s, public schools were much better at the basic level.
Precisely
so the gap between the school you went to first and state experimental was very small. Today, the school you went to in the first 3 years, if you compare it to a private school of the same kind, the gap is big.
I agree.
So we can't use...
No, I agree. I'm only saying that if resource allocation should also be mindful of the determination of your... you need to check the levels of your resources before you start allocating. But this blanket thing, it doesn't work.
So let's push this further. We are in a pre-election year. One of the big conversations will be about free SHS, free feeding, NHIS, and all those things, which are easy to promise politically but difficult to execute. How do we frame those policies. You are talking about the issue of how much money you have. So that's on the supply side. What about the demand side? What ideas can we bring about? How do you categorize affordability? Is it taxes you're going to use? I was talking about private public school. It's not as simple. Should there not be a way in which you can say this thing? Because again, you're talking about Cocoa scholarship. You got a scholarship because your grandfather or somebody was a cocoa farmer, and I think you deserved it. Again, somebody of your age whose grandfather is a cocoa farmer may not get the same scholarship because now the system is now very corrupt. So you see, people don't trust that the institutions will be fair to the person who actually needs it.
That is true.
So the government's answer is that, you know what?
That's if you have the resources.
So they will find it from all your money.
But they have not found it. You see, today in 2023 is not when we are going to review the free SHS policy or review NHIS policy. The outcomes are there for all of us to see. Let's go back to those who framed the policy and let them tell us that if these were the outcomes that they expected and whether they are happy with the outcomes.
In private, they will tell you something different than what they say in public.
No, so we as a country, we need to do this introspection. You understand? Now you hear this thing of child labor that people were discussing. I mean, I don't get it when I hear this child labor thing. We copy everything from the West. The Western people, they have chopped and they are barely full. No, they are talking about child labor.
I disagree with you. No, I disagree with you. We are not. You see, this story. The reason this story.
I'm not even talking about the story specifically. This whole concept of and now it's even affecting our chocolate.
Yes.
You know, then they say that Ghana we don't do child labor. Something. What is that? What is that? What's child labor?
Child labor is involving children in work.
Oh, please.
When they should be in school.
No, but where else should they go?
They should go to school.
No, they do go to school, but who told them that the children don't go to school?
How do you prove that? That's the point. How do you prove that this child was?
No, but who told them they can prove it better than us?
No, they've not said that. They are the ones.
Because they write and it's affecting.
Yeah, but it's because
it's affecting products made in Ghana on the shelves in the world market.
You don't have a market. You don't have money to buy your own product. Somebody is buying your chocolate, and the person who is buying the chocolate is telling you what he wants you to do to produce it.
But that's what I'm saying.
So you can't.
I'm saying that it's not fair because they don't know much. Look, our school cycle is built around our farming seasons in this country. You understand?
Yeah.
So that children can go to school and still help in farm.
Yeah, but it's abuse.
What is abuse?
It's abuse. That's why.
There's no abuse.
But why do you think Solidaridad? Why do you think Solidaridad and Co will spend?
Because they don't have. They are biased towards Africa.
I disagree.
We all went to the farm when we were children.
It's a different situation.
No. We all went to the farm. We never stopped school, so we go to farm.
I'm saying that I understand when you are saying that there are institutional and national biases against our chocolate. But I'm saying that child labor is an issue. There are communities in the around the Volta Lake. Children are exploited to do things that no sane society should allow. Let me finish. I'm saying that because of that, we have to own the child labor conversation and not make it seem as if it's a Western conversation. It's our conversation. If we understand the nuances of child labor and how to manage it, somebody will not come and tell you that this is how you should do it. But if we simply say, for us, this is how we've always done it, or we are sort of like, when I was young, I used to farm, and so we shouldn't. No, because now there are more dangerous forms of it. It's taking alarming proportions. It's becoming more serious. So it should not be dismissed. It should not.
Are you done?
No, I'm hosting, so you don't ask me. I ask you.
I'm saying, are you done with your submission?
I can come in when you talk. So you go on.
No, I'm saying that. See, go to the United Kingdom. Do you know that they give child benefit for children under 16? They pay them £21 a week for being a child. Do we pay even 5 cedis for being a child here? So if you're a child and in your cocoa farm, your grandfather's cocoa farm, you want to go and help so that you get something small. You say it's exploitation. Not until it prevents you from expressing your childhood in education, in socialization and other things. I don't see anything wrong with that. Unless you go and take them, come and apply for a job and pay them. That one there is extreme. But what we know and what we grew up seeing in our rural communities for me, I don't see anything about child labor.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy you are using the examples you are using, and I'm saying that those examples are true. But I'm saying that the discussion is broader.
No, it is. So I am unhappy that they are using it against our products on the international
I'm saying
market.
that until we deal with issues of value addition and markets, that's a separate conversation. Because once somebody is the person buying your product can decide what they want to buy. Do you understand? So the solution to that is in developing our markets. But I'm saying that the issue of child labor is much bigger than simply chocolate and those things.
Bernard. No,
do you get me?
I say again, who feels it knows it. Go to Kent in the United Kingdom. Go to Kent and see how many children are involved in fishing. 14, 15-year-olds are into fishing big time. That one, they don't see it as child labor. But when you come to Africa, when you see a 14-year-old, because he's poor and looking scrappy, that's child labor. I'm just saying that the rules must be fair. I'm not happy if a child is prevented from going to school or living their life and expressing their God-given potential because they have to be sold out to work on farms for peanuts. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. I'm saying that the structure of our family system in our rural communities is not as bad as they want us to believe. We lived it. They did not. And they can't write the script for us. Because the point is that, look, do you think that the poor farmer in Kede somewhere can afford paying labor at the national labor level to pay people to come and work at the farm and still be profitable? No local cocoa farmer can do that and still sustain their business. That's why most farms are family oriented in terms of the way it's structured, because by that you get more help. Look,
it doesn't cost as much.
I was 9 years old, nine years old when I was working on a cocoa farm. Nobody paid me anything. But I was just excited waking up in the morning with the hope that I'll be part with my friends. I never owned a cocoa farm.
I'll come back to this. Let me speak to Dr. Rita Owusu-Abankwah, who's a consultant for child protection and social protection at, I think, at the ministry.
Yes, she's a sociologist. She used to be at the...
Yes, and I think she's the one who presented the report?
She's a consultant.
So she worked on the report?
No, she's a consultant to the project.
All right, so let me just understand her capacity here. Dr. Owusu-Abankwah, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning.
So my understanding is that you are a consultant for child protection and social protection. Is this for the ministry?
No.
Not for the ministry, for the project?
Not for the project. I was just called to do a child labor framework for the mining sector. So I'm not working for any organization in that aspect, yes.
We understand this was a validation meeting at which the story came out. And I've spoken to Mr. Birichum, who has explained that the issue of churches and other religious centers encouraging this is just one isolated incident, which is now being validated. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. Before any meaningful framework is designed, you need to talk to people who are into that, who are being affected and who are sort of practicing this or engaged in that kind of activity. So we went out. We went to one of the districts, and then we talked to people, a lot of people from the district assembly to the children and to migrants. We talked to a lot of people in there. And one thing that came out strongly was the fact that there are a lot of teenage pregnancies there. The children are exposed to money at that very young age, and therefore they engage in sexual activities, and that sometimes results in pregnancy. And because of that, you have to name your child, and somebody will have to be called to come and name the child. So that is how things are. Not that the churches are, encouraging that, but once the child is has given birth, that child, that child's child will have to be named, and that is how that issue is. And so that was what it was mentioned. But as you have said, it was just an isolated case. It's not a widespread. But what is very serious there is the teenage pregnancy going on there and the indiscipline that is going on because children are exposed to money, and therefore now parents have lost control of most of their children, and they do whatever they like, and that is causing a whole lot of anxiety for parents.
Madam, what is the difference between children engaging in galamsey and children working on cocoa farms?
Oh, they are all, we have categories of child labor. We have the as for child work is not child labor. And so I've heard your panelist saying that he was involved in work. Any work that does not cause harm to the child and does not prevent the child from going to school, it's not child labor. It is child work. It is part of our socialization process. So that is clear. But any work that causes harm or is likely to cause harm and danger to the child is child labor. And even that one, we have categories. We have hazardous child labor, and we have, worst forms of child labor. And some of the worst forms of child labor, like child trafficking, forced labor, those are the extreme worst forms that you have to take action immediately, to take the child out of it. But if it is hazardous labor, then, of course, you can even take out the risk and let the child perform it. But what is the difference between cocoa and mining is that the cocoa hazardous work, the risk can be removed. But in mining, every process in the mining, the supply chain is hazardous, and children are not supposed to work in there. But in the cocoa, we did a hazardous child labor activity framework for the cocoa sector. And then we categorized the ages of children and the work they can perform. And so a child can perform work in the cocoa farm without necessarily committing a child labor situation. But a child in a mining sector cannot perform work in the mining sector. And so that is the difference. The mining sector work is dangerous, it's hazardous. In fact, the Ministry of Employment Child Labor Unit has reviewed the National Hazardous Child Labor Framework, and they have mentioned that every work concerning mining is hazardous and children are not supposed to work in there. And so every child working in mining is causing child labor. But in the
whose failure is it that over 5,600 children are engaged in illegal mining?
Well, I cannot pinpoint who has caused it. Everybody, all of us, as a nation, we have to protect our children. We have to protect our children. As parents, we have to protect our children. But like what we did, we realized that the causes of child labor are economic. We have economic causes there. We have financial causes there, and then social, cultural causes. Okay, so if a child is hungry and is going to school with on empty stomach, and somebody calls the child, let's go and have galamsey, and they have, sometimes they get as much as 200 cedis a day, 150, 170 a day. The child will abandon school. And so we need to put in system structures and programs that can help the children, protect children, that can help them to benefit fully from school, for instance. Now we have free education, but I'm not sure all the children are taking advantage of free education. If you go there, parents are forcing to make sure that the children get opportunity to attend school and especially also enjoy the free education. But for the child from primary school up to the level where the child can enjoy free education, a lot will have to be put in there to ensure that the child benefits fully from school.
Thank you for your work. Thank you, Dr. Rita Usam Abankwa. She is a consultant in child protection and social protection. A couple of interesting comments here as we move this discussion on. Bernard, the complaints about child labor may be well intended for a number of reasons, but Samens is right. There's something more cynical. When we do not introduce our children to our farming to tickle their interest, is it any wonder when they grow up and leave farming to old people? More so, we also have to recognize, like Richard said, some children, even today, will not and cannot go to school in spite of the free SHS without helping parents. This is the reality in the vast areas of our dear country. This is coming from Selassie. Now, here's a quick one from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resource Seminar Commission. They are basically saying that, why do you destroy your environment and individual livelihoods while you keep lining your pockets? You say you love Ghana, but you are selling her precious rich farmlands and emptying the country of its price cocoa. You call yourself a patriot, but you are causing deforestation, loss of habitat, as well as water, air, and soil pollution through the release of toxic chemicals. This galamsey thing must stop. It's time to speak up and finally put an end to illegal mining. There are more responsible mining methods under the National Alternative Employment and Livelihood Program, which you can sign on to. Respect the laws. Help protect the future of our kids. Message powered by Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. If you're planning your next adventure on air or by air, use Emirates. The best destinations are not just about the place, but also about what you get to do whilst you go there. On Emirates, you can dine on gourmet meals inspired by original cuisine. And what better way to toast the start of your holiday than with your choice of free-flowing drinks? And of course, you can expect world-class service along every step of your journey from Emirates' award-winning cabin crew. So wherever you decide to fly, fly better on Emirates. You get so much more on Emirates Economy. Find out more at emirates.com. Coronation Insurance is giving out up to 2,000 cedis worth of fuel coupons and other amazing prizes in the Coronation More to Win promo. Simply buy your motor insurance using the Coronation Insurance digital platform, dial star 789 star 115 hash, or visit mycoronationinsuranceghana.com. All fuel coupons are redeemable at any Shell fuel station. Call 0302 772 606. And British Council is inviting higher education institutions, head of schools, policymakers, and entrepreneurship hubs, and employers and students to the Innovation for Africa Universities Ghana Showcase and Dissemination event. This event has been designed to strengthen the capacity of universities and increase their ability to participate in and contribute to as key players within the entrepreneurship ecosystem. Now, this program has facilitated 24 Africa-UK university partnerships implementing projects to support young people seeking to develop job creation entities and sustainable enterprises. 4 out of the 24 collaboration grants were awarded to Ghanaian universities, enabling them to collaborate with UK universities, partners, and ecosystem players. This event is being launched on the 24th of February, that's Friday, from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Saturday, the 25th, there will be a series of conversations on innovation, entrepreneurship, and employability. Exhibitions of projects and products by beneficiaries will run from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on both days. This event at the British Council. To attend this event, visit britishcouncil.org.gh and our social media pages. Here are some comments on this contentious child work versus child labor. F cube, cocoa versus galamsey.
Yeah. So let me take you to this one coming in from Ian in Amasaman. He says that the galamsey thing, it is itself illegal, isn't it? So child labor happening is double illegality.
On galamsey?
Yeah, that's right. So this one says, Bernard, I agree with Samens on this child labor definition they try to impose on us. During my childhood, I would sometimes go to the farm early in the morning before going to school, and then go again in the evening after returning from school. I did this willingly because I understood that that was how the family would survive and how my school fees or expenses will be paid. This is coming in from Franklin in Kwabenya.
All right.
This one says, Uncle Sam, please also add the part where they make all these allegations of child labor, yet they are the same people who determine the price of how they want to buy my cocoa.
Buy your own chocolate and eat so you can determine how it is produced. You don't buy your chocolate.
So then they should also stop bringing their chocolate here.
But we are the ones who go and buy it.
No, because they've structured global economy in that way.
That's why I must buy.
So we are disadvantaged if we don't open up.
That's why you must eat Ghana.
So that's why I'm saying that we should restructure the way our society is made up of. If we don't restructure it and we leave it open like this, we'll always be disadvantaged.
This one says the legal age for marriage is 21, 18 years with parental consent, irrespective of the type of marriage we're talking about. Bernard, these churches are usually not licensed to perform marriages, but they have their own certificates and perform what they call marriage blessing, which takes the form of white marriages. That is a marriage.
I actually think the doctor was trying to clarify that this was more the outdooring. That was,
the outdoor.
It wasn't even the marriage. It was the fact that when the child, a teenager gets pregnant, they are able to still do a bojemo type of thing, sort of validating the childbirth and encouraging others to do it. I think that's what she was trying to highlight in her response.
Yeah, that's
the main thing for my area.
That's what I was telling him. That you cannot take away that element of competition. You got
obeying advantage.
No, don't allow you. Ujemo is like Easter in the Kwo area.
Yeah, but you see, is it not tricky? So if two children, technically, who should not even be having sexual intercourse, when to do that, and then there is a child produced out of that, really, as a matter of public policy, should churches be outdooring those kids?
But even it's not the church. They can get a pastor to come.
I'm not sure about public policy, but you see,
once a child is born, the child has a right.
Union, whether right or wrong, does not
prescribe you from naming the child.
No, the child should be left
out of that confusion.
Confusion. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Does the child on its own deserve any blessing from the pastor? That's the question. And the answer is yes.
The fact that she was born
whether it was through marriage, outside of marriage.
And how that value
my concern is actually even with the age. You see, because
once a child is born,
it's wrong.
Once a child is born, you can't say that they shouldn't be blessed. Or they should be named.
The process of that endorsement is what appears to also encourage others to.
Well, but the people are encouraged already because Ojemo Akejo. They use that thing to even insult.
For me, I really think that the angle of the story was not fair. It jumped too quickly from, because if you are a pastor in a community and there's a child who is born, the guy is 18, the girl is 16. I mean, once a child is born and the child has to be named. You understand?
You understand?
Yeah. And the child overrides. And once you are named, you can't say that the child was born by a teenager, it shouldn't be named.
You see, let's distinguish between naming a child and naming a child in a flamboyant fashion.
That's a culture angle.
That's right.
So the child, because
Sky,
I'm a child born out of wedlock by teenage parents. Don't I have a right to a big podium?
You see that?
I mean, what I say? I'm a child. I also funded by Galamsey money. You get me?
That is the danger.
You are talking about an area where you don't even, in Ghana, they can insult a woman that, you don't have a child. That place, they don't say that. They say that,
you haven't outdoored the child.
You have not done outdooring.
You are here talking nonsense.
So the outdoor is huge.
I think we are joking about this, but the point is that the way society, see, a lot of things, we think policy law, the way, what we value in a society. And I think you are right when you say, sometimes when you bring a pastor to validate the conduct of this, you are basically saying there's nothing wrong with it. So we need to have a conversation about what we value as a society and what we promote through our actions or inactions.
So
which is where I think
we're doing it, maybe, where it occurs like that, then do it in a room. So the family heads, maybe one or two people can do it in a room, so that it is not.
That we don't want to encourage a repetition of this.
Exactly.
But the point is, in those kind of environments, like Samantha said, both here and both in the south, the middle belt, and other places, it does not work like that.
But we can use our social forces to change that. If, for example, the MP,
no, we don't want to change it.
No, we want you to change it.
No, we don't want, because you see the thing. But you are right. You are very right.
I'm coming.
You are very right, Sky.
Media, churches, and say, look, guys, this Ojemo we are doing for teenage kids, and we are boasting about it. It's what you heard Henry Cote speaking to the guns last year. It's not helping us. So we need to use our better views to say, let's not encourage this thing. let's tell the young people that having a child at 15 is going to subject you and the child to poverty.
That is true.
Let's push that agenda.
I will go a step further. I'm just saying that in times past, if you made a mistake of having a child at age 15, 16, you sacrifice your education. So long as you can reorganize your life and continue with your education, regardless of childbirth or not, I think that the child who has come out of the union deserves everything that society has to offer. That's all I'm saying.
But it's not a flamboyant Pujemo.
Yes. No, it depends on the cultural expression.
No, so let's
it depends.
No,
what I'm saying is, you see, you can afford to refer to it as flamboyant.
Yeah.
You understand? But maybe that's how their community is structured.
But that's why we are suffering.
No.
So we need to say,
we are suffering from that and many other things.
So what we are saying is that if we know by experience and research that the continuation of teenagers giving birth to kids is perpetuating cycles of poverty, then we must start questioning the values that make teenagers who have children feel that they can boast about it.
Very true, Bernard.
No.
But the point is that it's a cycle of poverty. I agree. But why is it that, again, I'll come back to this one. Why is it that in the Western world, people are giving child support till they are 16 years and in some cases 20 years if they are still in school?
When they give birth to kids?
No.
Well, that's generally.
Yes, if you have a child.
But they have surpluses in their budget.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying the reasoning is that you can't stand on your own. Some of these young kids, they do these things for economic reasons because they are looking for outlets from their tight.
Their parents don't give them money.
They don't get it. So they think that by offering themselves and having a child with a man, then they take themselves away from that cycle of poverty. So I'm just saying that.
So we cannot just tackle it from the moral point of view.
Yes,
but also the
I'm telling you, I deal with them in my family place. I deal with them every day.
So it's not like they want to have kids.
Before, when I started, I tried using the moral thing. You know, if you go and do this, I won't support you again. I noticed that before long, I was not dealing with everybody. Because every month going to the family house, somebody had given birth and is 16, 17 years.
Doing their own thing there.
So the economic push factors.
The economic push factors are so strong. And things that you can't legislate how they live their lives.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about why you must take care of the youth and HIV. It's also part of the discussion. Dr. Fred Nanapoku, Director of Technical Services, Ghana Youth Commission, talking to us about young people living with HIV and the seriousness with which that group is growing and why we must discuss it.
You see, Bernard, just to quickly plug into that. You see, as we are talking about this thing, someone's raised a very interesting point. But is it about time we considered giving out, say, contraceptives to kids of that age
for free?
No, not giving out. Make it available.
Whichever way. It should be accessible. It should be accessible.
If a child has access to the contraceptive, then they will use it. But don't go and share it like toffee.
Well, it should be accessible, and the technical people know
guy is laughing at me.
Making it accessible. No, because
I agree with you.
Look at sanitary towels for young people and the taxation and all these conversations. I mean, who should be taxing sanitary towels for young children?
It doesn't make sense.
I mean, why in 2023
we need money?
No, and you see, when people are having your discussions and reference is made of rural areas, you always refer to rural areas as if it's so far from Accra.
There are some even close by.
I was in Choko this week.
It's a rural area.
Brutally rural.
It's more than rural.
I am telling you, I was there in Choko this week. Spent about half of my day in Choko.
Brutally rural.
It's sad. So I'm saying that the access is not there. Let's not
talk things like contraceptives, things like sanitary towels should be made available because some of them people are entering sex not because they want to.
You understand? And it should be made available to them. See, if you make it up before in the 70s, the American people were bringing us oil. I'm talking about cooking oil. You see the free one that they used to call it "shake my hand" because there's some shake my hand. And some of the enrolled nurses and the community health nurses people, instead of giving it out to the man, they were selling. You understand? So you run the risk of some people, unscrupulous people selling, but do it so that their selling thing will be, their market will die. Because it's a very...
People are saying that when we do that, we accepted defeat.
No, we are not accepting defeat. The point is that... No, what is abstain? Abstain means what? Who is abstaining? Go to the churches whether anybody is abstaining. Please. Oh. The thing, we have to give them... Look, Bernard, we will only measure the cost of this project. No. We will measure the cost of this problem if we look at the pricing and the cost of purchasing.
We should give them the
condoms. Okay, but the real cost is in not giving them, and then the outcomes that we see on the streets. That's the real cost.
Abstain in a tuni.
No, abstain in a more.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Everybody,
The Assemblies of God Ghana is about to take a turn like never before. Join us at the Grand Arena, Accra International Conference Center on the 25th of February for the induction service of the newly elected General Superintendent, our very own Reverend Dr. Stephen Yenesom Wengam, and the outdooring of the newly elected Executive Presbytery Officers, Reverend Tito J, Reverend Dr. Enes Brikran, and Reverend Dr. Simon Abubaba. There is about to be a shift, growth, and transformation as they plan to reach, rebuild, restore, reform, reposition, and rebrand the Assemblies of God Ghana. Proverbs chapter 11 verse 14, where no counsel is, the people fall, but there is safety in the multitude of counselors. Come, let us welcome and celebrate our new Assemblies of God leaders. God bless you.
Bet365 is now officially available in Ghana. My G, if you love sports, there's no better way to get a piece of the action. Build your own personalized bet with Bet Builder and select from popular markets on the biggest sports. You fit make multiple selections within a single match. For example, in football, you can choose first goal scorer and both teams to score to create your bet. Charlie, visit the official site at bet365.com.gh. Over 18s only. Terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
Hey, nowadays, germs are in the air. Aren't you concerned?
Concerned about what?
About the children, of course. In times like this, they sneeze, cough, and fall ill just like that.
This is why we need to give our children and ourselves a fighting chance with the maximum protection of Dettol soap. Dettol soap not only refreshes you, but it can be used for bathing and washing hands. So keep calm, get Dettol soap.
Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Dettol is endorsed by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association.
This advert is FDA approved.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
935, 97.3 City FM. We're moving straight into our next conversation, the youth and HIV. We're talking about teenage pregnancy. In fact, we started about child labor, and then we talked about teenage pregnancy. And now, one of the other consequences of early involvement in sex is, of course, HIV. And I have Dr. Fred Nanapoku, Director of Technical Services, Ghana's Commission, join us. Doc, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I hope you followed what we were discussing so far.
I was right in it.
Do you agree with Samens when he says that the way things are going, contraceptives must be made available because a lot of the children are not abstaining anymore, and we shouldn't bury our head in the sand and just maintain an abstinence message, and that there has to be more nuance to the message. You agree?
Partly so. I agree with him. You see, the fact is the evidence are clear. Teenage pregnancy is on the rise, as you said, and we can see a lot of teenage. And what happens before you get pregnant? That is the question you ask. It means you've had sex.
That's all.
And sex, unprotected sex as it is. So what do we do to avert these challenges and problems? So we're saying as we continue trumpeting it, that abstinence, yes. But if you can't abstain, please protect yourselves. There are several protective measures that can be taken. You can use your injectables, you can use your emergency contraceptives and all that. They are very good and effective. But the point is, some of these ones do not protect against other conditions and other effects, such as HIV, right? So then you have to use contraceptives, that is condoms, barrier methods to protect yourself from getting HIV and other STIs.
So for HIV, abstain or use condom. Those are the two.
Yes, and I think the other time we talked about other protective mechanisms, use of medications, ARVs, that pre-exposure prophylaxis. That
pre-exposure prophylaxis.
Yes.
Okay, what is that? Good, Charlie.
Simple put, you take medications that will prevent you from getting or catching HIV when you undertake a risky behavior.
Oh, so that's the pre-exposure prophylaxis.
Yes. We take prophylaxis in several ways. Even for malaria, we have prophylaxis against malaria. We take Daraprim, we take other doxycycline, etc. to prevent you from catching malaria when you get into an endemic place.
It's the same principle.
It's the same principle that applies.
How serious is HIV among young people?
Quite serious.
It's growing?
Quite serious. When you look at the data from people aged 15 to 25, 15, 24,
25.
20, yes, last year, 2021, total population was over 42,326. That is
42,000.
Yes.
200.
346. Yeah.
So young people, where is the young people?
15 to 24 years.
With HIV.
With HIV.
Hey, be serious, though.
Right. Serious. And then we also saw about close to 22,000. In fact, more than 22,000 from the ages of 10 to 19.
Huh?
10 to 19, we had more than
10
20.
to 19.
Yes.
More than 22,000 Ghanaian children.
Yes.
Have HIV.
Hey. So
10 to 19.
10 to 19, yes.
These are people who grow through their years.
Imagine
what they do.
What are they doing? Where are they getting it from? Is it through mother and child or through sex?
Both.
Which is more prevalent?
For mother and child, we had about 2,949 over the period of 2021.
So it's smaller.
Which is smaller. So if the cohorts of people living with HIV, that is 0 to 15, are about close to the figure I've mentioned, then sex is also
predominantly the reason.
Sex is also a major.
So sex is the main reason.
It could be. I have to really look at the data in details and then.
But from what you're saying, if the mother to child for last year, 2 years ago was
2,949,
and
yes.
10 to 19 is 22,000. Now obviously the overwhelming majority is either sex or through shaving or something else.
Yes.
How generally are the youth coping with HIV and their medication?
It's not easy for them, especially because of the stigma and discrimination that is associated with that condition. And in schools, you just imagine your friend gets to know that you have HIV. Sometimes, as we just talked about, it's through mother to child transmission. Sometimes also through your negligence, use of and sharing of sharp needles. I mean, that stigma is very high and not welcomed. So they face a lot of challenges. Some of them have to, in fact, before they go to school, their medication has to be rebranded, putting in different bottles.
So people don't know that they are taking.
People don't know that they are taking the medications. Some will have to hide before taking their medications. But we're trying to go around all these challenges and trying to ensure that they are comfortable and they can take their medications. Yeah.
How do parents cope with telling the youth about their status?
It's equally not easy. The story is told about somebody who keeps on taking medication, grew out of it. Grew with it. And he kept asking the mom, why is it that I'm always taking this medication? My friends are not. And she couldn't even break the news. So sometimes we have to bring in some counselors from other quarters. I mean, the health sector to get in, and they help in disclosing to those these children and their colleagues. Yes.
Are there any special places that the youth can go to for counseling on how to cope with their condition?
Not so many of those. Yes, unfortunately, it's just unfortunate. But we have youth centers, youth corners that have been established by the health sector, also by civil society organizations such as PPAG. They have these youth corners. I think there are some in Accra, for example. We can locate some in Kokomilimli, Latebia Okwashe, Lekma Hospital, and places like that. So but unfortunately, as I said, these youth-friendly centers are not so many. They are not so many that we need to scale them up. We need to scale.
So, what advice would you give to the youth on HIV?
HIV is real. It's still persistent. And in fact, let me make this point also. You know, currently we are experiencing drug use among the youth.
Drug use?
Yes. And I must say that we tend not to associate it so much with HIV, but there is a strong link with drug use and HIV.
Really?
And especially among the youth. A recent study that was conducted in 2020 shows that quite a number of people who use drugs are youthful. In fact, they fall between the ages of 28 to 44. And as low as at the age of 20, those who use drugs started using drugs. I mean, started the use of drugs at the age of 20. And those who inject drugs started at the age of 22. This is a very serious matter. And the science tells us that the most riskiest behavior to acquire HIV is through injection of drugs. Injecting of drugs. People who inject drugs have 35 times more likely to get HIV than the general populace. This is secondary to those who do anal sex. So the risks of getting HIV is very high with injecting drug users. And as I said, the study showed that young people are engaging in drug use. Apart from those who inject drugs, they use without injecting. When you use any kind of drug, it impairs your judgment. You know, a story is told where a young man went into a place and had an encounter with a young lady. That young lady had an HIV. And she not willing to disclose and transmit the virus, produce a condom to be used through during a sexual act. But this young man was so bled. He had taken alcohol, he had smoked.
He was high.
He was not in this world at all, in the third heavens.
He couldn't find his way.
So this young lady gave this young man the condom. And instead of wearing the condom, he opened it up. What is this? Wonderful. I'm going to use it, and dropped it into a glass of drink that was by the bedside.
It's like he's coming to drink. The alcohol the drugs have changed his whole life.
So imagine what could have happened. What I mean, like the outcome of such a sexual act, a very risky sexual encounter. The person could have gone out with HIV. So drug use, young people, is one of the riskiest venture that leads to HIV.
All right.
Let's protect ourselves from getting HIV.
Let's protect ourselves.
Let's live healthy and long and serve Mother Ghana.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fred Nanapoku, Director of Technical Services, Ghana's Commission. 97.3 CDFM is 9:45. This February, make your love month even more special with the Prudential Bank Card the Love promo. Win amazing prices by using your Prudential Bank debit or prepaid card for online or in-store transactions. The top 10 spenders with a minimum of 5 transactions will be rewarded with these wonderful prizes, including a luxurious weekend stay for 2 at the African Regent Hotel in Accra, a cozy night stay for 2 at Accra City Hotel, a romantic lunch or dinner for 2 at Velandro Residence, and a sumptuous lunch or dinner for 2 at Jamrock Restaurant. Prudential Bank, truly dependable. Vodafone Business presents Too Much Business, the #1 mobile plan for businesses in Ghana today. With Vodafone Too Much, you have the best mobile plan on the market that gives you your business the best value. This means you have the flexibility to choose voice, data, and SMS packages that suit your business size and ambitions. Get more minutes for Vodafone to Vodafone calls and calls to other networks, data, and SMS in one complete mobile package. Experience free calls among your employees and roll over unused data. Take your business to the next level. Subscribe for Vodafone Too Much Business. Call 0507 779 000 or email vodafonebusiness.gh@vodafone.com. Vodafone, further together. And losing a loved one rather, stops you in your tracks and leaves you shaking. In these trying times, you can count on us. Or in those trying times, over the past 21 years, Lashibi Funeral Homes and Crematorium, we've had your back when you needed it the most. From picking your loved one through the burial, cremation, and funeral reception, we will guide you through the unfamiliar territory of selecting products and services you will need to ensure your loved one has a fitting send-off. Call 0509 542 409 or email info@lashibifuneralhomes.com. Lashibi Funeral Homes and Crematorium, dignity for the deceased, comfort for the bereaved. And if you're planning your next adventure, remember, it's not just the destination, it's about how you get there. One of the best bits about holidays is the food. And with Emirates, you can dine on gourmet meals inspired by regional cuisine. And what better way to toast the start of your holiday than with your choice of free-flowing drinks? You can expect world-class service along every step of your journey from Emirates' award-winning cabin crew. You get so much more with Emirates Economy. Fly more at Emirates. And if your health is important to you, Vigdang Healthcare, a Ghana Health Service certified healthcare facility, specializes in kidney stones, hepatomegaly, hypertension, fatty liver treatment, and more. We also use 100% natural medicines in all our treatments. We're on the Spinkters Road behind the Standard Chartered Bank. Call us on 054 995 1211. That's 054 995 1211. And according to the World Bank, Ghana is faced with 12% youth unemployment and more than 50% underemployment. In addition, observers generally agree that Ghana's youth are ill-prepared for the world of work, and only 38 out of 100 school children transition to the next level of the academic ladder. Why sit unconcerned when you can contribute to solve the problem? Your donation of 1 cedi a day will support Lead Africa International, train underserved school children for free. Donate to 054 9274728. That's 054 9274728 or on Chango at Lead Africa International. Together, we can change the future of Ghana, one student at a time.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Bet365 is now officially available in Ghana. My G, if you love sports, there's no better way to get a piece of the action. Build your own personalized bet with Bet Builder and select from popular markets on the biggest sports. You fit make multiple selections within a single match. For example, in football, you can choose first goal scorer and both teams to score to create your bet. Charlie, visit the official site at bet365.com.gh. Over 18s only. Terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
Ajua, Grandma looked very peaceful. I was completely amazed when I saw her neatly presented. She looked just like she was sleeping.
You haven't seen anything yet, my brother. You should have seen the care and quality treatment they gave her at transitions. One man, one room, just like a 5-star hotel.
Wow.
And not only that, we had a dedicated person to guide the family through the funeral planning process.
Are you sure?
Of course. From picking her up to when we lowered Grandma down, everything was completely stress-free. They had all the needed funeral services, caskets, hairs, chapel, and so much more.
This one, dear, no family fights after all.
I'm so happy we made the right decision to use Transitions.
With Transitions, your loved one gets the best of care while the family enjoys a stress-free funeral planning process. Call us now on 0302 634 706. And no, did I tell you they're affordable? Transitions, the funeral people.
1xBet. Easy betting, easy winnings. 1xBet, the most reliable service to make deposits easily with high odds and numerous bonuses on the spot. Register now at 1xbet.com.gh. Use promo code BESTODDSGH to get 300% bonus up to 3,445 Ghana cedis on your first deposit. Easy to use, easy to have a chance to win. 1xBet, reliable bookmaker. Gambling can be addictive. Bet responsibly. Not for person under 18 years. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show.
If it had not been for the Lord, who was always on my side, the enemy would have swallowed us, would have drowned in their waters. But our souls have found an escape, a hiding place in you. The fowler's snare is broken. Our help is in the name of the Lord. No, nothing without you. Without you, you are the air that I breathe. Can't live without you. Without you, Jesus, in you I live and move and have my being. Hosanna to Jehovah.
And indeed, it's a great testimony of the faithfulness of God that the Assemblies of God Ghana is doing an induction service for the General Superintendent and the outdooring of the Executive Presbytery officers this Saturday, the 25th of February, at the Grand Arena, Accra International Conference Center. Reverend Dr. Siwengam is joining us for a few minutes to just highlight some of the big things happening this week and also give us a sense of what to expect. Also, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bernard.
Congratulations are in order.
Well, I'm grateful, humbling.
It is a pleasure to have you. I'm really sorry we don't have enough time this morning, but I'm sure you will come back after the induction. This is a very important week. So walk us through. In August was when the election was done, and then you were sort of sworn in. But what's happening this Saturday?
Right. Our constitution stipulates that 1 month after election, handing over is done. So you take over administratively everything, and then induction is done. Traditionally, it was done in November. Okay. We wanted to use this induction to relaunch the church, to take care of a few issues. So we thought, let's give ourselves time, and also let's familiarize ourselves with the work so that we can do it properly to the glory of God. So what is happening on Saturday is more of the spiritual aspect of the takeover. Yeah, where the church will gather with the clergy, and then we'll celebrate God's goodness, and then pray and swear in the new general superintendent.
What task does the new team face? We are in 2023. We are in a difficult economic time, and they are outdooring a new team. How do you assess the responsibility?
Bernard, is huge, considering the times in which we are. You are superintending over 6,000 churches. Wow. We have 3,800 pastors, 690,000 members. Wow. Administrative, spiritual issues involve traveling, the welfare. Majority of our pastors are in rural Ghana. and the economy of the rural Ghana impacts negatively on them. So we've launched our vision paper, Christian the Transformation Agenda, anchored on Micah 4:1 and 2, which says, in the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple shall be the highest, and that the nations will flood in. God's vision is that the end-time church must be visionary, prominent, influential, impactful. We want to reposition Assemblies of God Ghana to reflect the qualities mentioned there. We've divided the vision into 6 thematic areas, the 6 R's. Reach, rebuild, reform, restore, reposition, and rebrand.
Wow.
And the reach, we are saying that there must be no village in Ghana without the people hearing the word of God. We'll plant churches in every village. Then, under rebuild, pastors' welfare is key, rural pastors' welfare. We're going to invest heavily in the human capital development and infrastructure. We're going to build the Assemblies of God, a centenary village.
Wow.
Will be 100 years in 8 years' time. Then, under reform, major administrative restructuring. Then, under reposition, to provide leadership, to show demonstrable leadership as a church. Then rebrand. Typical Pentecostal church, we are not appealing to the middle class and the younger generation. We need to work at that and institutionalize excellence, the culture of excellence in the church. And finally, restore. We are a product of the Azusa Street revival. We are reseeking the early church revival.
Wow. But this induction is part of a series of programs. I understand it's a leadership training conference. Tell me about that.
The maiden edition of the Transformational Leaders Conference takes place tomorrow, Thursday 23rd, Friday 24th. It's open to all. We have international speakers. The General Secretary of the World Assemblies of God Fellowship. We have 70 million members worldwide.
Serious?
The Singapore General Superintendent is the General Secretary, Reverend Dominic Yeo. He pastors a 10,000 member church and operates a huge television network, Trinity Broadcasting Network in Asia. He is coming. He's speaking.
Wow.
Then Reverend Greg Johnson, your friend.
Greg Johnson, New York.
USA, is speaking. Then Reverend Barnabas Ntokambali. He is the president of the Africa Alliance Assemblies of God. We have 90 million members in Africa.
Wow.
He is the president and the Tanzania General Superintendent. He will be speaking.
Big global event.
Yeah. Bishop Charles Ajenasare speaking on the role of the supernatural in fulfilling the mission of the church. Then the former Chief Justice, Georgina Theodora Wood, is speaking on the role of alternative dispute resolution in resolving conflicts in the church.
Wonderful.
Then I will speak on effective church branding. So it's a huge event. We're inviting all church leaders, business, corporate leaders who are Christians who want to make a change and make an impact. I invited to Cedar Mountain Chapel, East Legon, near Mother Eye Clinic.
Tomorrow,
Friday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Will this be an annual event? I know we're doing the Global Leadership Summit. We sort of went on a break. So we're back?
Yes. Okay. So this is Assemblies of God event. It's going to be annual.
Wonderful.
Global Leadership Training is non-denominational. That one, God willing, next year it will bounce.
One of the things I liked most was after you were inducted, there was a big conference the Church of Pentecost organized at their fete. And I saw you, the head of Apostolic Church, head of Pentecost Church, joining hands. Some people think that was the first time we are seeing a public show of working together in a conference like that. I don't know what you can say about that. It was quite remarkable to see.
Yeah, it was actually Ghana Pentecostal Council does that, but this was big in terms of numbers, and that is why we also decided under reach. We have, if you've been following the media space, we've paid courtesy calls on all key heads of churches. It's ongoing. Political leaders, all who matter. The church must be relevant in societal development. So we are repeating it again this year, and we love it. We want to be part of it.
Well, we wish you well. We'll be there to support this event to be live streaming on Citi Tube, and also later shown on Citi TV. Reverend Dr. Stephen Wengam, General Superintendent, and his executive team, including Reverend Tito Ajay, Dr. Ernest Birikrang, and Dr. Sam Abu Baba, will be inducted by the grace of God on the 25th of February. And we should bear them up in prayer. Proverbs 14:11, where no counsel is, the people fall, but there is safety in a multitude of counsel. Dr. Wengam, welcome. Thank you so much.
Also for Wengam.
Yes.
Now let me publicly for another time congratulate you on this new high that you have achieved.
Richest guy. Thank you for listening. This has been a Citi Breakfast Show production. For Jabano being the main guy behind the show. Thank you to Richard, to Godfred, and to Samens for the inputs. Coming up next is Branch in the City with AJ. Before that, Caleb Kudo, City News at 10. Good morning, Caleb.
Good morning, Bernard. Coming on board, Gatanga.